Chapter 439. Mother of asterisk her. After tens of thousands of years, I finally have a body. With my cultivation level, now that I have a body, I must have a good time. I heard that all the female cultivators on planet Fengwan are full of energy. I've always wanted to go there. Now that I leave, I must have some fun. Wang Lin, are you going? Wang Lin frowned. He looked at the boy and calmly said, "Not going." This boy was Situ Nan. After he successfully possessed the body, he sped up the process of merging with the body. Although it wasn't complete yet, his cultivation level had reached the ascendant level. Situ Nan rolled his eyes and said, "You're so boring. Immortal cultivation, my ass. Do you know why I'm cultivating? Let me tell you, the reason I cultivate is to conquer all the beauties in the world, steal all the treasures in the world, and kill everyone I don't like." This was the real reason the old man came to Planet Four Saints to cultivate. Otherwise, who could endure cultivation that is so boring? When the old man reached the foundation building level, he decided to give up on cultivation. He sneaked out of the sect and went to a small country with almost no cultivators. There, he became a prince. Every night, he had women to serve him. It was so comfortable. If I met anyone I didn't like, I would use a spell to deal with them. 10 years. I stayed in that country for 10 years. Situ Nan's eyes were filled with reminiscence. It was obvious that he missed that period of time. Wang Lin flew forward and calmly said, "Since it was so comfortable, why didn't you enjoy yourself there for the rest of your life?" Situ Nan revealed an angry expression and said, "You think I didn't want to? If it wasn't for that damned core formation cultivator, I would have spent the rest of my life enjoying myself in that country. That core formation cultivator's cultivation level was higher than mine, so I spent a lot of effort to escape. Then I clenched my teeth and continued to cultivate. This time, I endured for dozens of years and reached the core formation stage. Then I clenched my teeth and reached the late stage of the core formation stage." Wang Lin laughed. He looked at Situ Nan and said, "And then you want to take revenge?" "Revenge my ass. That core formation cultivator was already killed by someone. After I came out of closed-door cultivation, I found a rank 2 cultivation country and continued to live my life of pleasure. Those foundation establishment female cultivators accompanied me every day, so there's no need to talk about how happy that life was. Also, in the Mortal Palace, I was the same as the Emperor. That little guy, the Emperor, fit my personality perfectly, so he gave me everything to enjoy. Now that I think about it, I still miss that life." Wang Lin rubbed his chin and said with a smile, "Did you encounter another nascent soul cultivator later on?" Situ Nan stared at him and said, "That's right. In less than 3 years, a nascent soul cultivator with no limits fancied me as a human cauldron for a foundation building female cultivator. I couldn't beat him, so I could only run away. F***CKM. I was so angry that I went into seclusion again. This time, I directly reached the late stage of nascent soul before coming out. After that, I took turns being a prince in a rank 3 cultivation country and enjoyed all the beauties in the world. I don't know how many fellow cultivators were envious of me." Wang Lin laughed and said, "What happened next? Could it be that you met another soul formation cultivator?" Situ Nan sighed and said, "I was just unlucky. In less than 10 years, I killed someone and offended a mid-stage soul formation cultivator. I was saved by the first rosefinch. At that time, he wasn't rosefinch yet. That was how I met Yi Wuyo. However, his cultivation level wasn't high back then, so he couldn't save me forever. In the end, I had no choice but to give up my beauties and escape again. This time I was smart and went into closed-door cultivation to understand life. I finally broke through the nascent soul stage and reached the late stage of soul formation before coming out again." When Wang Lin heard Situ Nan's story, he found it interesting and asked, "What happened next?" "Next was naturally revenge. I went to kill that mid-stage soul formation cultivator, then found a cultivation country and continued to enjoy myself. Unfortunately, good times didn't last long. Yi Wuyo found me and said he wanted to go to the celestial realm with me. Then we went to the celestial realm and obtained a large amount of celestial jades. I went in a closed-door cultivation and reached the soul transformation stage. I originally wanted to find a cultivation country and continue to be a prince. After all, with the old man's cultivation level, there weren't many people who could mess with me. I didn't want to cultivate anymore. It was too boring. I just wanted to spend the rest of my life enjoying myself. However, that old bastard Uweo told me that if I want to play, I had to create my own rank 6 cultivation country and play however I wanted. I was confused and fell for that old bastard trap, so I agreed. F***ck him. For this dream, I cultivated day and night and ran around with him. In the end, he became the leader of all the sects in Rosefinch. The two of us worked hard together and managed to develop a rank 4 cultivation country into a rank 6 cultivation country. Then, he and I reached the top and was given this desolate Suzaku by the Cultivation Alliance. At that time, I was filled with hot blood and wanted to have some fun on Suzaku. Unfortunately, I didn't expect the Forsaken Immortal clan to be here. They dared to steal from me. So how could I let them go? There was a huge battle, and there were a few pretty good women in the Forsaken Immortal clan. So, I stole them and played with them. Later, Uweo sacrificed himself and a few of his old friends to seal the Forsaken Immortal clan. I was disheartened and was ready to leave Suzaku and find a weak cultivation planet to continue to be a prince. Unfortunately, that old bastard Uweo schemed against me before he died and made me the second-generation Rosefinch. You know what happened next? Someone broke my body, and I hid inside the heaven-defying bead until I met you. Now that I have a body, I'm going to get my revenge. After I get my revenge, I'm going to have some fun on Planet Phone 1. Then I'll find a cultivation country and continue living my life as a prince. Let me tell you, Wang Lin, cultivation is enough. Life should be enjoyed. Situ Nan's eyes revealed a hint of melancholy, as if he had seen through life. My Tao is different from yours, Wang Lin calmly said. He had heard about Situ Nan's life, so he had heard about it. Wang Lin knew that he couldn't be so carefree and enjoy life. It was unknown when, but Wang Lin's heart began to pursue the true meaning of cultivation. He wanted to know where the end of cultivation was. This was where he and Situ Nan were different. Situ Nan had his own brilliance, and Wang Lin had his own pride. Wang Lin didn't know when. His pride was walking step by step toward the peak of cultivation. He wanted to conquer the world and understand the true meaning of the heavens. Situ Nan took a serious look at Wang Lin. For the first time, he realized that he didn't really know this child he had watched grow up. Right now, he suddenly felt like Wang Lin was a stranger to him, but there was also a hint of familiarity within this unfamiliarity. He said it was a stranger because he had never seen this kind of expression on Wang Lin's face before. This was a kind of pride toward his own path. Situ Nan hated this kind of expression because he had only seen this expression on one other person besides Wang Lin. That person was the respected and hated Rosefinch, Uweo. From a psychological point of view, Uweo was like a big brother to Situ Nan. He was both a teacher and a friend. Although Situ Nan was arrogant, he valued kindness. Uweo had helped him a lot. There were some things that he couldn't say out loud, but he remembered them in his heart. That's why, even though he wanted to leave, he gave up on his dream and became the second-generation Rosefinch because of what Uweo said. His heart was more about helping Uweo protect Suzaku. From the first time he met Uweo had this expression on his face. Even after Uweo died, Uweo still had this expression on his face. From a low-level disciple of a rank 4 cultivation country, he climbed step by step to become the head of a sect. After that, he took control of all the sects in the country and became the head of a country. Then, with great perseverance, he raised a rank 4 cultivation country to rank 5. Then he went one step further and reached rank 6. He became a rank 6 cultivation country and was given Suzaku. All of this was because he was Uweo. If it wasn't for him, Rosefinch would still be an unremarkable rank 4 cultivation country on Planet 4 Saints. It might even have been destroyed. At this moment, Situ Nan saw the same expression on Wang Lin's face. His heart was very complicated as he let out a sigh and said, "Forget it. It is still too early to talk about this." The most important thing right now is to send you into Rosefinch's tomb and retrieve your soul piece from the cultivation planet crystal. Wang Lin, Rosefinch's tomb is surrounded by the mysterious power of the cultivation planet crystal. Aside from Rosefinch's son, no ascendant cultivator can enter. Only soul transformation cultivators can enter, so I can't help you this time. However, you can rest assured. Even if you fail to retrieve your soul piece, the old man has a way to retrieve it. However, it will be very troublesome, so it would be best if you could retrieve it yourself. Situ, Nin said. Wang Lin nodded. He looked at Rosefinch's country and calmly said, "The matter with Suzaku should be finished. After I retrieve the cultivation planet crystal, I will leave Suzaku. Situ, space is very big. I hope we will meet again one day." With that, Wang Lin flew off into the distance. Situ Nan let out a laugh as he caught up to Wang Lin and flew with him. He smiled and said, "It is too early to talk about this. It won't be too late to talk about it when we part ways. However, I believe that the two of us will meet again. If nothing unexpected happens, I'll become a prince on planet Feng Wan." As they flew, Wang Lin suddenly asked, "Situ, what is the realm above Ascendant?" The last scene of the Rosefinch chapter will unfold tomorrow. This is an instance, the last instance before I leave Suzaku. Recently, things have been a bit dull, but I promise you that it will not be dull in this instance. A lot of things will come to an end there. Those who should be killed will be killed, and those who should be collected will be collected. Chapter 440. Above Ascendant. As Situ Nan flew, he stopped and looked at Wang Lin. Situ Nan said, in a serious tone, "Ordinary cultivators don't know about the realms above Ascendant. This is not the same as nascent soul or soul formation. Any cultivator knows about it, because there aren't many cultivators above Ascendant. Ascendant is a peak, but it is also a threshold. Most cultivators with powerful spells are stuck at this threshold. They can't climb any higher until their lifespan runs out and they die. However, once you break through this threshold and reach the edge of the next realm, your lifespan will increase countless fold. Although your lifespan won't last as long as the heavens, it will increase a lot. Before the old man entered the heaven-defying bead, he gained some enlightenment. That's why he was able to survive for tens of thousands of years with the help of the heaven-defying bead. However, that doesn't mean the old man's lifespan is infinite. If he hasn't broken through when the time is up, he will still die. It's not that there aren't people who escape the reincarnation cycle, but they are usually low-level cultivators. After reaching the ascendant stage, it is simply too difficult to escape the reincarnation cycle. The reincarnation cycle will produce different reincarnation cycles depending on the cultivator's cultivation level. This is why I said that low-level cultivators have a higher chance of escaping the reincarnation cycle, provided they have the help of a high-level cultivator. Wang Lin nodded. He thought about how he helped Li Muan fight against the messenger of the samsara. After Ascendant is the three realms of Nirvana Shatterer. Situ Nin took a deep breath, and his eyes revealed a hint of melancholy. The three realms of Nirvana Shatterer. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. That's right, the three realms of Nirvana Shatterer. This is what the first-generation Rosefinch, Yi Wuyo, mentioned to me when he returned from the Cultivation Alliance. Otherwise, only the old man would know about this after he became the Rosefinch. Situ Nan let out a sigh. There was a hint of melancholy and reminiscence in his eyes. The three realms of Nirvana Shatterer are Nirvana Scryer, Nirvana Cleanser, and Nirvana Shatterer. These three realms are the supreme Tao after Ascendant. Situ Nan said in a serious tone. Wang Lin took a deep breath. He frowned and said, "What happens after the three realms of Nirvana Shatterer? Have you reached the peak?" Situ Nin shook his head and said, "How could it be so easy? The three Nirvana Shatterer stages are only the second step of the cultivation journey. However, peak Nirvana Shatterer cultivators are considered powerful in the Cultivation Alliance. Very few people dare to provoke them. And rumor has it that none of the old monsters in the Cultivation Alliance have truly broken through to the Nirvana Shatterer stage. Wang Lin pondered a bit before looking at Situ Nan and asking, "Have you reached the Nirvana Scryer stage?" Situ Nan wryly smiled and shook his head. "How could it be so easy? There are two barriers between the Ascendant stage and the Nirvana Scryer stage. They are the Yin and Yang. This Yin and Yang refers to the change in one's domain. It's not the difference between illusion and reality, but a higher level of understanding. Everyone's Tao is different, so I can't go into too much detail. Only after one's domain has been cleansed by the Yin and Yang can one reach the early stage of Nirvana Scryer. Before I entered the heaven-defying bead, my domain was at the edge of the Yin. Although I couldn't cultivate for tens of thousands of years inside the heaven-defying bead, my comprehension was very deep. My Yin has reached completion, so I only need to comprehend my domain and cleanse it before I can find a place to go in a closed-door cultivation and reach the Nirvana Scryer stage." Wang Lin's eyes lit up, and he said, "What is Rosefinch's cultivation level? Is he at the Yin and Yang stage before the Nirvana Scryer stage?" There was a hint of disdain in Situ Nan's eyes, and he said, "Him? Late stage ascendant. I fear he is not qualified to comprehend Yin and Yang, much less reach the Nirvana Scryer stage. However, he is a special type of ascendant cultivator. Although he is no match for cultivators who have comprehended Yin and Yang, ordinary late-stage ascendant cultivators are no match for him." Wang Lin's eyes lit up, and he said, "Cultivation Alliance, title Rosefinch." Situ Nan's eyes revealed a look of admiration, and he nodded. "That is correct. He is a titled ascendant cultivator. This type of cultivator stands at the peak of the ascendant stage because they have a special spell given to them by the Cultivation Alliance. When Yu Weio came back from the Cultivation Alliance, he learned a powerful spell called the Suzuka Seal. This seal was very powerful, and if it wasn't for the fact that it consumed one's lifespan and couldn't be used endlessly, then unless one was a cultivator that had comprehended both Yin and Yang, very few ascendant cultivators would be a match for it. However, the spells given by the Cultivation Alliance are the same as celestial treasures. They are also divided into ranks. The Rosefinch Seal is a low-rank spell, but just this alone is enough to increase the strength of a titled Rosefinch cultivator greatly. Unfortunately, the Rosefinch Seal can only be used after you inherit the Cultivation Plant of Heart. Otherwise, if you learned it, your strength would increase greatly. The Rosefinch tactic that the previous Rosefinch cultivators cultivate was created by the first Rosefinch Yiwuyo through the Rosefinch Seal. Not only will cultivating the earth cultivation technique increase, but after obtaining the Cultivation Plant of Heart, it will strengthen your fusion with the Cultivation Plant of Heart, allowing you to truly reach the ascended stage. Wang Lin pondered a bit. His eyes lit up and he asked, "You said that celestial treasures are divided into ranks." Of course, celestial treasures are treasures that use celestial spiritual energy. They are divided into low, mid, and high rank. Situ Nan's eyes narrowed, and he said, "Rumor has it that there is another type of treasure above celestial treasures. This type of treasure can only be used by Nirvana Shatterer cultivators and is extremely powerful. I suspect that the heaven-defying bead is this type of treasure." Wang Lin touched his forehead. After pondering a bit, he slapped his bag of holding, and the celestial sword appeared in his hand. He looked at Situ Nan and said, "Look at my flying sword. What type of treasure is it?" After seeing the celestial sword, Situ Nan's eyes lit up. He waved his right hand, and the sword flew into his hand. He held the sword and touched it with his left hand. Then he closed his eyes and quietly felt it. Wang Lin's expression was calm. He had a lot of trust in Situ Nan, or else he wouldn't have let Situ Nan look at the celestial sword. Shortly after, Situ Nan suddenly opened his eyes, and his eyes shined brightly. He held the celestial sword in his hand, and celestial spiritual energy surged through his body. The sword in his hand released a monstrous sword energy that was several times stronger than when Wang Lin was using it. Situ Nan softly said, "Good sword." He casually waved his right hand. Boom, boom, boom. A series of earth-shattering loud noises suddenly came from the void. Then, A huge crack that stretched as far as the eye could see appeared in the void like a ferocious wound. A violent cold wind howled out from the crack. In the blink of an eye, the ground almost turned into an ocean of ice. Good sword. Situnin touched the sword and looked up at Wang Lin. He asked in a low voice, "Where did you get this sword?" "From an old friend in the celestial realm." Wang Lin's eyes were calm from beginning to end. "This is a mid-tier celestial treasure. Unfortunately, the sword spirit inside cannot completely fuse with the sword, so its power is limited. Also, I don't think there is only one sword. When I held it in my hand, I felt like it was incomplete. There should be 4 swords. Once the 4 swords are combined, it will become an extremely rare high-tier celestial treasure. Unfortunately, once a celestial treasure reaches the mid-tier, it will gain a soul skill. This soul is not like the soul of us cultivators. It is a unique way to use it. Without this method, it will not be able to unleash its full power." Good sword. Situnin almost couldn't bear to let go of it. Mid-tier celestial treasure? Wang Lin frowned. He originally thought it was a high-tier celestial treasure. Situnan's eyes widened, and he said with dissatisfaction, "What? A mid-tier celestial treasure is not good enough? Let me tell you, the number of mid-tier and above celestial treasures is very limited. Until now, I haven't heard of anyone being able to make a mid-tier celestial treasure. If it is a low-tier celestial treasure, some cultivators can make it, but it is impossible to make a mid-tier and above celestial treasure. All of the mid-tier and above celestial treasures are left behind by the celestial realm. Not all of the celestial treasures in the hands of cultivators are low-tier, and mid-tier celestial treasures are very rare. When you leave Suzaku, you will know how precious a mid-tier celestial treasure is. It can almost cause a war." Wang Lin's expression changed. He remembered his trip to the celestial realm. Sword Saint Ling Tianho and a few other old monsters started a crazy battle for the celestial sword. Those people's cultivation levels were definitely above the ascendant stage. Even with their strength, they would go crazy for the celestial sword. This showed that Situnan's words made sense. Situ-Nan snorted. Mid-tier celestial treasures are already rare, and high-tier celestial treasures are even rarer. This old man has cultivated for many years and has been to many cultivation planets, but I have never seen a high-tier celestial treasure. "Brat, you are really lucky." Situ-Nan raised his head and asked, "Do you have a soul skill for this sword?" Wang Lin pondered a bit and said, "I have a clue, but I can't find it." "Oh, tell me about it." Situ-Nan immediately asked. Wang Lin shook his head and said, "It's better not to talk about the past." Situ-Nan faintly smiled as he looked at Wang Lin and said, "How about giving this sword to me?" Wang Lin looked at Situ-Nan and asked, "Are you serious?" Situ-Nan hesitated for a bit before letting out a sigh. He threw the celestial sword to Wang Lin and said, "Forget it. If it was someone else, I would just take it, but this old face of mine is a bit embarrassed to take something from you." Wang Lin smiled as he caught the celestial sword and said, "This sword isn't mine. Otherwise, I could give it to you." Situ-Nan snorted and said, "If it wasn't for the fact that my bag of holding is already gone and I don't have a single treasure, I wouldn't care. Back then, I also had 2 low-tier celestial treasures." Wang Lin's eyes lit up, and he said with a smile that wasn't a smile, "The son of Rosefinch had a lot of celestial treasures." The son of Rosefinch's celestial treasures are all low-tier, and most of them were collected by the first Rosefinch, Yiwuyo. I'm too embarrassed to steal them. Situ-Nan's eyes revealed a look of pity. "Situ, look at this and see what grade of celestial treasure it is." Wang Lin pondered a bit. Then he slapped his bag of holding, and the beast trap appeared in his hand. He threw the beast trap, and it turned into the war chariot. The war chariot floated before him. The soul beast on the god-slaying war chariot immediately opened its ferocious eyes and roared as it materialized from the war chariot. After Situ-Nan saw the chariot, he was startled, but then his eyes lit up. To be continued. Chapter 441. Celestial Treasure. Although it is only a low-quality celestial treasure, It is very powerful among low-quality celestial treasures and is infinitely close to mid-quality. Brat, how do you have so many treasures? If this spirit beast is a bit more powerful, it might be able to make it reach mid-quality. Situnan's eyes lit up as he stared at the war chariot. Low rank. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He had 3 god-slaying war chariots, and this one was the smallest. The other 2 were several times stronger than this one, especially the last one that was even stronger. This method of using the soul of a celestial beast to make a celestial treasure, I have read about it in some ancient books. Only the celestial realm can make it. After the celestial realm shattered, this type of treasure almost went extinct. Unfortunately, although this type of treasure is also a low-quality celestial treasure, it requires a special seal to use it just like a mid-quality celestial treasure. If you force it, you won't be able to use its true power. What a pity. Situ-Nin sighed. At this moment, he felt a bit of admiration for Wang Lin. This brat's cultivation level wasn't high, but he had a lot of treasures. When he was at Wang Lin's level, he didn't even have a single celestial treasure. Wang Lin looked at Situ-Nan and took out a jade from his bag of holding. He left an imprint on it with his divine sense and threw it at Situ-Nan. Look at this. Situ-Nan caught the jade and scanned it with his divine sense. His expression suddenly changed as he looked at Wang Lin and said, "This is the seal to control this celestial treasure?" "That's right. By using this seal, you can control this war chariot. I can also guarantee that this seal was left behind by the person who made this war chariot." Wang Lin nodded and looked at Situ-Nan with a smile that wasn't smile. Situ-Nan immediately put away the jade and smiled. "Could it be that you want to give this war chariot to me?" Wang Lin's expression remained the same as his right hand formed a seal and pointed at the war chariot. The war chariot trembled and a ray of black light came out. It turned into a beast trap that flew toward Wang Lin. "I'll give it to you." Wang Lin grabbed the beast trap and put it into his storage pouch. Situ-Nan was going to take revenge. If he didn't have any magical treasures, Wang Lin would be worried. Therefore, he gave this god-slaying war chariot to Situ-Nan. With this treasure, Situ-Nan's chances of taking revenge will be much higher. Without the control of the beast trap, the soul beasts on the war chariot immediately let out a roar and wrapped around the war chariot before speeding off into the distance. Situ-Nan laughed. His body flashed, and he immediately chased after him. "Don't run, come and play with me." The Forsaken Immortal Clan's armies in the north, south, east, and west of the Rosefinch continent were all covered in black fog. In the eastern Forsaken Immortal Clan's army, the 5th ancestor's eyes became cold. He waved his right hand and softly said, "The 3-month time limit is almost up. The destruction of the Rosefinch country has arrived." After he finished speaking, his body suddenly moved and a large amount of black fog appeared along with the Forsaken Immortal Clan members behind him. His target was the center of the Rosefinch continent, the Rosefinch mountain of the Rosefinch country. At the same time, the other 3 groups of Forsaken Immortal Clan members all moved without hesitation. They began their final attack on the Rosefinch country. On the Vermilion Bird continent, the 2 giant reincarnation trees were shining with a green light. 2 ancestral spirits that were shining with a crystal light came out from the trees. These 2 ancestor souls both had 10 leaves between their eyebrows. After they appeared, they also flew toward the Rosefinch country. On the side of the Rosefinch country, the 4 sides of the defense line were pushed back by the Forsaken Immortal Clan. This was a large formation that caused the entire Rosefinch continent to constantly tremble. Large amounts of spells were constantly being cast. On top of the Rosefinch mountain, the son of Rosefinch stood there motionlessly. His red robe fluttered in the wind, and his white hair fluttered in the wind. Chu Yunfei had left. The ascendant old monster from the Earth Soul sect had also gone into closed-door cultivation. At this moment, the son of Rosefinch country was the only ascendant cultivator left. His figure exuded a trace of decline and loneliness, but more than that, there was a hint of madness. "Earth cultivators of Suzaku, old man, Rosefinch son, you don't need to defend anymore. Tell all the Forsaken Immortal Clan members to come here." Qianfeng, Lume, you two come here as well. The son of Rosefinch Sun's divine sense swept across the entire Rosefinch continent. When the cultivators of Suzaku heard this voice, they all stopped fighting. They let out a sigh and scattered in all directions. Without the cultivators blocking them, the earth cultivators from all directions rushed toward the center of the Rosefinch Mountain. If one looked from above, they would see that the entire Rosefinch continent was covered in 4 layers of black fog. These 4 layers of black fog were rapidly spreading toward the center. The son of Rosefinch Sun had his hands behind his back as he looked at the blue sky and muttered, "Everything is about to end." Not long after, 2 figures came from the distance. One was a man and one was a woman. They stopped next to the son of Rosefinch Sun. It was Qianfeng and Lume. Qianfeng was wearing a black robe, and his eyes were filled with an evil light. His expression was gloomy as he silently stared at the son of Rosefinch Sun. Lume was very beautiful. She was wearing a white dress and looked like a fairy. At this moment, she was frowning and silently pondering. The Suzaku continent isn't strong enough to resist the forsaken immortal clan. Today, Qianfeng, Lume, the 2 of you will experience a life and death trial. Whether you live or die will depend on your luck. The son of Rosefinch Sun's back carried a hint of loneliness as he spoke. At this moment, the black fog was closing in from all directions. There was only one person in the eastern part of the black fog. This person was middle-aged and was wearing a gray robe. With one step, he arrived 1,000 feet away from Zhukezhi. He stopped and calmly said, "Don't worry, Zhukezhi." He calmly said, "The son of Rosefinch Sun, I'm the 5th ancestor of the forsaken immortal clan." Another person walked out from the western part of the black fog. This person didn't look very old and was covered in tattoos. However, this person's tattoos weren't black, but gold. If Wang Lin was here, he would immediately recognize this person. The person calmly said, "The young master of the forsaken immortal clan greets the son of Rosefinch Sun." 3 people walked out from the southern part of the black fog. The 3 of them crossed the distance with one step and arrived 1,000 feet away from the son of Rosefinch Sun. 2 of them were in an illusory state as they silently stared at the son of Rosefinch Sun. The other person was a woman. Her eyes were filled with charm, and she was very beautiful. She looked at the son of Rosefinch Sun and smiled. This little one is the 3rd ancestor of the forsaken immortal clan. Greetings to the son of Rosefinch Sun. The 2 beside me are the ancestral spirits of my forsaken immortal clan. Skylark's figure gradually appeared from the northern part of the black fog. He looked at the son of Rosefinch Sun and softly said, "Senior apprentice brother." The son of Rosefinch Sun suddenly turned his head and stared at Skylark. He said, "Should I call you Skylark or the 2nd ancestor?" Skylark shook his head and said, "It's just a name. Senior apprentice brother can do whatever you want." Since everyone has come out, then the only 11 leaf spell user in the Forsaken Immortal clan, the 1st ancestor, you can come out as well. The son of Rosefinch Sun's eyes became cold as he looked up at the sky. A 5-colored light flashed above and condensed into an almost transparent figure. It slowly descended from the sky and looked at the son of Rosefinch Sun and slowly said, "The son of Rosefinch Sun." This 1st ancestor's appearance was very ordinary. There was nothing special about him. However, he was able to scare away Chu Yunfei with one palm. He was very strong and was on par with a late-stage ascendant cultivator. In some aspects, he was even stronger. Skylark's son said, "Senior apprentice brother, we don't want to destroy Suzaku. We just want to find a way to coexist. If you agree to hand over the cultivation planet crystal, we can avoid this battle. Suzaku, we will split into 2 and won't interfere with each other." The son of Rosefinch Sun laughed. His eyes were filled with mockery as he said, "If it wasn't for the fact that you were afraid that the old man would destroy the cultivation planet crystal, you would have already attacked instead of wasting your breath." Arrogant. The 5th ancestor's eyes lit up as he hit his forehead with his right hand, and a tattoo appeared before him. He pointed at the tattoo with his left hand and spat out a mouthful of blood as he shouted, "Seal." The tattoo was suddenly filled with the color of blood and released a demonic red light. In the blink of an eye, it flew toward the son of Rosefinch Sun. The fifth ancestor knew that the son of Rosefinch Sun was very strong, so this attack was only a test. He didn't even get close. The son of Rosefinch Sun's eyes became cold and he sneered. He didn't do anything, but there was a flash of golden light before him. Cracking sounds came from the tattoo, and small cracks appeared on it. In an instant, the tattoo collapsed. At the same time, the fifth ancestor's expression changed, and he quickly backed up. There was a spot of blood between his eyebrows, and blood was flowing out. The Forsaken Immortal Clan's first ancestor frowned. He took a step and arrived before the fifth ancestor. He reached out, and a golden needle appeared in his hand. However, the moment the needle appeared, it disappeared without a trace. The son of Rosefinch Sun's expression was cold as he jumped out. He was so fast that aside from the first ancestor and Skylark, no one could see him clearly. Rosefinch Sun's seal, attack. The son of Rosefinch Sun's ancient voice came from the void. When he reappeared, he was already in the air. His right hand pointed forward and the world changed colors. Large amounts of flames came out from the son of Rosefinch Sun's body. The flames spread like crazy and in the blink of an eye, covered the surrounding 10,000 feet. Cracks appeared on the ground as if it was being baked. Aside from Skylark and the first ancestor, everyone else quickly retreated to avoid the impact of the flames. At the same time, a fire phoenix flew out from the son of Rosefinch Sun's body. It let out a roar in the air as its body shrank and fell from the sky like a meteor. The Forsaken Immortal Clan's first ancestor charged into the air, and his body gave off a black glow. He raised his right hand, and an 11-leaf plant bloomed on his forehead. One of the leaves fell off and floated toward where the ancestor's finger was pointing. To be continued. Chapter 442. The fire phoenix let out a roar as it pierced through the leaf and the first ancestor's body. It charged toward the fifth ancestor, who was behind the first ancestor. Its speed was too fast. In the blink of an eye, the fire phoenix landed on the fifth ancestor's body. Boom! After a long time, the fire phoenix disappeared. The fifth ancestor let out a miserable groan, and his body began to burn. After 3 breaths of time, the fifth ancestor died. Rosefinch's face was pale, his eyes were dim, and his body was filled with the aura of death. Rosefinch used his lifespan to activate the seal. With his current lifespan, he could only use 2 attacks. After those 2 attacks, he would immediately die. Once the Rosefinch seal locked onto a target, nothing in the world could stop it. It wouldn't hurt the first ancestor, but it would kill the fifth ancestor in one blow. If it locked onto the first ancestor or Yunk Z, the Rosefinch seal wouldn't be able to kill them in one blow, but it could injure them. That's why Rosefinch didn't use it on the first ancestor or Yunk Z. Instead, he used it on the weaker fifth ancestor to kill them first. The first ancestor stared at Rosefinch and said, word for word, Rosefinch seal. The death of the fifth ancestor was very normal for the Forsaken Immortal Clan. There was no trace of sadness or anger on their faces. Yunk Z said, Senior Apprentice Brother, you still have one more attack. However, after this attack, your lifespan will end and you will die. I'll give you 3 months of time. I presume you have already thought it through. Do you want to use the lives of all the cultivators in Suzaku to destroy my Forsaken Immortal Clan? Or do as I said and split Suzaku in half? I need your answer. Skylark said calmly. Rosefinch's eyes revealed a hint of madness, and he laughed. My junior apprentice brother, with your understanding of me, what do you think I would choose? How about we play a game? If you win, I'll give you Suzaku. But if you lose, then your Forsaken Immortal Clan will be buried with all the cultivators of Suzaku. Young Z's eyes were calm as he said, Oh, tell me about it. Rosefinch's son laughed like crazy. His eyes became cold, and he said, The cultivation planet crystal is in the tomb of every soul transformation cultivator. If you guys don't get it, then I'll detonate the cultivation planet crystal and we'll all die together. Either the Cultivation Alliance will come and wipe out your Forsaken Immortal Clan, or the Cultivation Planet Crystal will be powerful enough to cover your forsaken immortal clan. All of the people your forsaken immortal clan has produced over the past tens of thousands of years will die along with the cultivation planet crystal. Yunk Z faintly smiled and said, "The cultivation planet crystal contains the fate souls of all cultivators. If you detonate it, your two disciples will accompany you to the underworld." With that, he casually looked at Qian Feng and Lu Mei. After Qian Feng heard this, a strange light appeared in his eyes. He looked at Lu Mei, who was beside him. At this moment, Lu Mei's brows were even tighter. This old guy really hid himself well. So the cultivation planet crystal has this kind of effect. Qian Feng's eyes became cold. Life and death are up to fate. Qian Feng, Lu Mei, I'll give the two of you a chance to enter Rosefinch's tomb and take back your fate souls. If you can take them out, then you won't die. If you can't, then don't blame the old man. After Rosefinch's son finished speaking, he waved his sleeves and his hair moved without any wind. He chanted a spell and then coughed out a mouthful of blood. A red light came out of his chest and turned into a heart-shaped red crystal. The madness in Rosefinch's son's eyes became even stronger as he roared, "Break!" Cracks immediately appeared on the heart-shaped red crystal. More and more cracks appeared on it, and it looked like it could break at any moment. At this moment, all the cultivators on planet Suzaku, no matter where they were, no matter what they were doing, even those who had left planet Suzaku a long time ago, but hadn't reached the ascendant stage yet, all of them were shaken. From the rank 6 Rosefinch to the rank 1 cultivation countries, and even all the mortals on Suzaku felt a stabbing pain in their heads. This stabbing pain came from the depths of their souls and was impossible to resist. Even some of the cultivators who cultivated the soul could only alleviate this pain, but they couldn't stop it. The cultivators who were escaping, the cultivators who were healing, and the cultivators who didn't know how to deal with this battle all felt the pain that came from the depths of their souls. It was as if one more bit of this pain could make a person collapse. It was as if one more bit of this pain could make a person go crazy. It was as if one more bit of this pain could make a person die. Among the mortals, from the royal family to the common people, everyone on Suzuka trembled. This kind of pain didn't matter who you were or who you were. As long as you were born within these tens of thousands of years, you couldn't escape. Aside from humans, all of the plants, animals, and beasts on Suzaku felt the shadow of death at any moment. It was as if the world was about to collapse, and their hearts were filled with fear. On the Suzaku Road, the forsaken immortal clan members that were heading toward Mount Suzaku were the same. Although their feelings were weak, they still felt like their fates were in someone else's hands and could make them go crazy with just a pinch. The power of the cultivation planet crystal was beyond everyone's expectations. Even Rosefinch's son felt the chill of death. At this moment, he suddenly understood something. So, the cultivation planet crystal given by the Cultivation Alliance is like this. At this moment, the people who were chasing stopped chasing, and the people who were escaping stopped running. All of Suzaku seemed to have stopped. The only thing that remained was a deep sense of fear. Young Z also felt this stinging pain, and his expression changed slightly. Although he had already guessed it, his heart still trembled at this moment. The third ancestor's expression changed. Her face was as gloomy as water, and she clenched her teeth. Although the first ancestor's expression was normal, his heart was filled with bitterness. He regretted that the Forsaken Immortal clan shouldn't have appeared so early. He should have listened to young Z and dealt with this matter gently. He should have trained the next generation of Rosefinch and secretly controlled them. However, it was too late. Next to Rosefinch's son, Qianfeng's expression changed greatly. He stared at Rosefinch's son with anger in his eyes. Only Lu Mei seemed a bit depressed. She looked at the sky with a frown and didn't say a word. The madness in Rosefinch's eyes dissipated a bit and was replaced with clarity. However, this clarity soon disappeared. He took a deep breath and laughed like crazy. The cultivation planet crystal hasn't completely shattered. It is slowly breaking apart. When it completely breaks, the cultivation planet crystal will collapse. Young Z, the game has begun. Let's see if your Forsaken Immortal clan can obtain the Cultivation Planet Crystal before it collapses. If you can obtain it, then I believe you have a way to prevent the Cultivation Planet Crystal from collapsing. At that time, Suzaku, I'll give the old man to you. However, if you can't obtain it or if you don't have a way to prevent it from collapsing, then you can be buried with the old man. As he spoke, he waved his hand, and a rumbling sound came from Mount Rosefinch. As the sound echoed, sand was kicked into the air and the earth trembled. Shortly after, Mount Rosefinch was split in half from the middle. A pitch-black tunnel suddenly appeared in front of everyone. The old man has opened Rosefinch's tomb. Young Z, the game begins now. You know the rules of Rosefinch's tomb. Anyone below the Ascendant stage can enter, but those above the Ascendant stage can't enter. The madness in Rosefinch's eyes became even stronger. The first ancestor stared at the slowly shattering Cultivation Planet heart, and his eyes lit up. Just as he was about to make a move, Young Z shook his head and softly said, "It's useless. The Cultivation Planet Crystal has already fused with Rosefinch's sun. Even if he doesn't take it out, he can still make it collapse. The reason he is doing this is to put pressure on us and make us watch our deaths come. If you make a move, even if you obtain it, you won't be able to stop it. I'm sure that with how crazy he is right now, he will immediately detonate the Cultivation Planet Crystal. If it was 3 months ago, I'm afraid he wouldn't even give us the right to play this game and would directly detonate the Cultivation Planet Crystal. However, after thinking about it, he gave us this chance. This is already very rare. Alas, if you had listened to me back then, you wouldn't be in such a dilemma right now." When Mount Rosefinch was split in half and Rosefinch's tomb opened, Qianfeng was the first to charge out. He turned into a ray of light and charged into Rosefinch's tomb. Lume pondered a bit before letting out a sigh and being the second to enter. Young Z's eyes lit up as he looked around. The Forsaken Immortal clan's junior master pondered a bit before walking into Rosefinch's tomb. At this moment, the black fog in the sky churned, and a large amount of Forsaken Immortal clan members appeared. Several people quickly flew over. It was obvious they had found out about this through a special method and entered Rosefinch's tomb without any hesitation. Among them was the 8-leaf old man that chased Wang Lin into the spatial rift. The news of Rosefinch's tomb opening spread across Suzaku in 3 days. At the same time, the news of the Cultivation Planet Crystal also spread like wildfire. Going to Rosefinch's tomb to retrieve their soul pieces became the most important thing for all cultivators. The cultivators scattered across Suzaku all rushed toward the country of Rosefinch to enter Rosefinch's tomb. However, Rosefinch's tomb was restricted by the mysterious power of the Cultivation Planet Crystal. If the number of people that entered exceeded a certain amount, they wouldn't be able to enter. Therefore, even though there were a lot of people that wanted to enter, very few actually managed to enter. Zhou Wutai was one of the people that entered. Along with him was Zi Xian, who always wore a veil. On the 4th day, Wang Lin and Situ Nan arrived at Mount Rosefinch. On Rosefinch's mountain, Rosefinch's sun's figure disappeared, leaving behind a piece of the Cultivation Planet Crystal that was slowly cracking open. Young Z and company also disappeared without a trace. No one knew where they went. A large amount of cultivators and Forsaken Immortal clan members wandered around Mount Rosefinch. Sometimes, they would look at the tunnel at the bottom of Rosefinch's mountain. At this moment, they no longer had any interest in fighting each other. Wang Lin looked at the tunnel at the bottom of Rosefinch's mountain and slowly walked forward. To be continued. Chapter 443. The entire country of Rosefinch had gathered most of the cultivators of Suzaku. Their goal was the same. They wanted to enter Rosefinch's tomb and retrieve their life spirits. The restrictions of Rosefinch's tomb caused a large number of high-level cultivators to gather at the foot of Rosefinch's mountain. Most of these people were at the soul formation stage, but there were also some at the soul transformation stage. Although there were only 16 of them, each of them occupied an empty space and completely blocked the entrance to Rosefinch's tomb. These 16 people were closer to Rosefinch's tomb when it opened, so they were able to arrive in less than a few days. Even so, they still missed the opportunity to enter the tomb. Before them, the number of people who entered Rosefinch's tomb had already reached its limit. At this moment, the only way to enter this place was to wait for someone inside to die. If someone died, another person could enter. Among the 16 soul transformation cultivators, only one was at the late stage of soul transformation, 3 were at the mid stage of soul transformation, and the rest were all at the early stage of soul transformation. These 16 people were scattered at the entrance to Rosefinch's tomb. Their gazes would occasionally sweep across the passage. If there was a flicker of green light or a ripple, it meant that someone inside the tomb had died and they could enter. With these 16 people here, none of the surrounding cultivators dared to move forward. They were waiting for all 16 people to enter. Then, they would compete with each other for the right to enter Rosefinch's tomb. After all, entering this place meant that there was a chance to retrieve one's life spirit. For this chance to connect with life, anyone in Suzaku would give everything they had. The higher the cultivation level, the more this was the case. Wang Lin's figure gradually approached from afar. He was dressed in white and looked quite clean. His hair was scattered behind his head and moved with the wind, making him look even more elegant. Along the way, Situnin told him everything he knew about Rosefinch's tomb. Wang Lin wasn't very confident about this trip. Rosefinch's tomb was many times more dangerous than he had imagined. Situnin gave me a piece of jade. With this item, I can leave Rosefinch's tomb. However, if I don't get the cultivation planet crystal, I won't be able to retrieve my fate soul. Even though Situnin has a way to save my fate soul, it is too troublesome. Plus, my soul is incomplete, which will affect my future cultivation. Wang Lin's figure slowly approached. On the periphery of Mount Rosefinch, the cultivators were either discussing in low voices in groups of 3 or 5, or meditating alone without saying a word, or their eyes flashing with other thoughts. As soon as Wang Lin arrived, some of the cultivators looked up at Wang Lin. Their eyes glittered, and they immediately bowed their heads and made way for him. There were a lot of cultivators around, but when they saw Wang Lin, their expressions changed, and they quickly backed away. Wang Lin walked past the cultivators and headed toward Mount Rosefinch. Just at this moment, an arrogant voice came from the front. "Stop!" At the same time, the crowd scattered. There were 5 cultivators sitting in the lotus position 100 feet away from Mount Rosefinch. No other cultivators dared to step within 100 feet of them. There were 3 men and 2 women, and their ages were quite different. There was a young woman, a young man, and an old man. The 5 of them were all peak late-stage soul formation cultivators, especially the old man. His body contained a trace of celestial spiritual energy. It was clear that he had reached the stage of breaking through to the soul transformation stage. However, he didn't have a lot of celestial jades, so he only refined a small part of his body. Even so, this old man was much stronger than a normal soul formation cultivator. The person who shouted was a young man next to the old man. This person was very handsome. At first glance, he gave off a sense of righteousness. However, if you looked closely, you could see that there was a flicker in his eyes. Others might not be able to see this, but because of the heaven-defying dew, Wang Lin's appearance was still the same as when he first started cultivating. However, he was an old monster that had cultivated for hundreds of years, so he was able to see through a person's heart at a glance. He calmly glanced at the young man, but he didn't stop and continued to walk forward. The young man's eyes were filled with caution. He stepped forward and shouted, "Fellow cultivator, don't break the rules. My teacher came here first. After the soul transformation seniors enter, it will be our turn. Since you came later, you should line up at the back." Wang Lin's gaze fell on the old man with celestial spiritual energy. This old man was wearing a black robe and looked like a skeleton. His eyes gave off a ghostly light that could shake people's souls. He looked at Wang Lin, but his eyes suddenly narrowed as if he had understood something. The young man saw that Wang Lin's expression was still the same, so he immediately gave his name. "My teacher is the wild Southern sovereign." The old man's eyes lit up and he shouted, "Shut up." While the young man was startled, the old man stood up and respectfully clasped his hands at Wang Lin. He said, "I'm the wild southern Ming sovereign. Greetings, senior. My disciple was ignorant and offended you with his words. Please forgive me." With that, he quickly moved to the side and made way for Wang Lin. The moment these words came out, the four people beside the old man were startled, but they immediately stood up and respectfully retreated. Wang Lin nodded at the old man and walked past them. He entered within 100 feet of Rosefinch Mountain. The moment he entered, aside from the late-stage soul transformation old monster, 15 gazes locked onto him like lightning. "Teacher, what is this person's cultivation level? Could he be a soul transformation old monster? But how come I can't sense any celestial spiritual energy on him?" Behind Wang Lin, the arrogant young man sent a voice transmission to the old man beside him. The old man said, "Of course you can't see it. Even I only noticed it when Senior got close. Not only is this person at the soul transformation stage, but he is also at the late stage of soul transformation, second only to ascendant cultivators. Only late-stage soul transformation cultivators will have celestial spiritual energy flow through their bodies and into their blood vessels. There doesn't seem to be anything strange about it." The moment the 15 gazes landed on Wang Lin, their eyes shined brightly. After a moment, the 15 of them withdrew their gazes. They all silently pondered and no one spoke. Their actions showed that Wang Lin had the same qualifications as them. He was the fastest to enter this group of 16. Wang Lin walked toward the foot of Rosefinch Mountain. He sat down in the lotus position at the entrance and silently pondered. Among the 16 soul transformation cultivators, there was only one late-stage soul transformation cultivator. He was a middle-aged man wearing a purple robe. His appearance was ordinary, and he sat there cross-legged with his eyes closed. In front of him was an ancient black sword with a golden tassel that moved with the wind. There were 2 bells tied to the tassel that made a series of crisp sounds in the wind. A little monkey with red eyes was sitting next to him. It scratched its ears and occasionally bared its teeth at the passage to Rosefinch Tomb. The moment Wang Lin sat down, the middle-aged man opened his eyes. His gaze was calm, without any fluctuations. He looked at Wang Lin and calmly said, "Sang Niu." The moment he spoke, the 15 soul transformation cultivators were shocked. They all looked at Wang Lin once more. The name Tseng Niu was very famous in Suzuku, and almost every cultivator knew of him. The battle between him and Red Butterfly was only spread among the soul formation cultivators, so the soul transformation cultivators didn't pay much attention to it. However, the death of Li Yuanfeng and the destruction of the giant demon clan ancestor made the soul transformation cultivators pay attention to the name Tseng Niu. Wang Lin's expression remained the same. He looked at the middle-aged man and calmly asked, "Is there a reason?" The middle-aged man faintly smiled. He rubbed the little monkey beside him and said no. Wang Lin no longer spoke and closed his eyes to rest. The middle-aged man's eyes lit up and he smiled. "Fellow cultivator Tseng has great willpower to use the celestial origin refining method to wash away your mortal roots in one fell swoop. This is much better than others who use the late-stage soul transformation method to wash away their mortal roots. If it wasn't for us soul transformation cultivators, others would think that fellow cultivator Tseng had reached the late stage of soul transformation and not the early stage. There aren't many people who use this method to reach the soul transformation stage. No wonder you were able to kill Li Yuanfeng and the giant demon clan ancestor." Wang Lin frowned. He opened his eyes and calmly asked, "Do you need something?" The middle-aged man shook his head and said, "No. I'm cultivating. Please don't disturb me." After Wang Lin finished speaking, he closed his eyes once more. There was an almost imperceptible flash of coldness in the middle-aged man's eyes. He used a bit of force on the little monkey, causing it to let out a loud cry and its eyes to become blood red. Just at this moment, the passage to Rosefinch's tomb suddenly lit up and a green ripple slowly spread out. This meant that someone had died inside Rosefinch's tomb and could enter again. The middle-aged man frowned and looked at Wang Lin. He stood up and walked toward the passage. The red light in the little monkey's eyes gradually dissipated and returned to normal. Although it was still emitting a red light, it was several times weaker than before. Wang Lin, you don't know the current me, but I know you. We haven't seen each other in a long time. The middle-aged man thought to himself. The moment his body disappeared into the passage, he looked back at Wang Lin and revealed a gloomy smile. Wang Lin's eyes lit up as he stared at the middle-aged man disappearing into the passage. He was sure he had never seen this person before, but the strange smile the middle-aged man gave Wang Lin felt was familiar. However, after thinking for a long time, Wang Lin couldn't remember where he had seen that smile before. After the middle-aged man's figure disappeared, the three mid-stage soul transformation old monsters immediately rushed into the passage and disappeared in the blink of an eye. The remaining people's expressions changed, and they all charged forward. It was obvious that more people had died inside Rosefinch's tomb, so more people could enter. Wang Lin's body flickered as he followed the others forward. The green light fluctuated, and all the people who charged in immediately disappeared into the passage. There was another flash of green light, and one of the early soul transformation cultivators was ejected. He let out an angry roar as he returned to the entrance, sat down cross-legged, and clenched his fists, calling for the monthly votes to maintain the top 15 monthly votes. It's a pity that I can't explode before the new year. It's not that I can't explode, it's that I can't. If I write poorly, everyone will scold me again. But I promise that I will explode at least 4 times this month. There's no need to rush me. Don't worry. 16, 17, 18 are too close. Let me become a rocket. To be continued. Chapter 444. The entrance to Rosefinch's tomb was Rosefinch's mountain, and there was another world inside. The entire Rosefinch's tomb was incomparably huge and was surrounded by the mysterious power of the cultivation planet crystal. Aside from entering through Rosefinch's mountain, there was no other way to break through the mysterious power of the cultivation planet crystal. Among the children of Rosefinch, besides being majestic, the most important thing about Rosefinch's tomb was that it was mysterious. When the first Rosefinch's tomb was first laid out, it wasn't as big as it was now. However, as time passed, or rather, as the number of fate souls increased, this place seemed to have a life of its own and slowly became bigger and bigger. It existed inside the Sisaku's tomb and gradually spread until it formed mountains and rivers, heaven and earth. Anyone who came here would be shocked. Wang Lin's figure appeared somewhere outside of Rosefinch's tomb. This place was scorched earth with black smoke rising from the ground and floating into the sky. There was no blue sky above his head, but there were flashes of lightning and rainbow-colored lights. Dragon-like cracks appeared in the sky from time to time. These powerful magical fluctuations illuminated heaven and earth, causing the sky to flicker between bright and dark. Wang Lin appeared on the scorched earth. The moment he appeared, his divine sense spread out, and everything within a 10,000-mile radius was covered in scorched earth. Black smoke rose from the ground. After a while, Wang Lin's eyes lit up, and he looked into the distance. Situnin once said that Rosefinch's tomb isn't big and is divided into the inner and outer areas. The inner area is the first Rosefinch's tomb, and the cultivation planet crystal is also there. Although the outer area is bigger than the inner area, one can see everything with a sweep of divine sense. There's an altar in the outer area, and only by passing through the altar can one enter the inner area. But now that I look at it, the difference between this place and what he said is too big. How can one scan the outer area of Rosefinch's tomb with just a sweep of divine sense, let alone find the altar? Wang Lin frowned. He crouched down and touched the scorched earth under his feet. A trace of heat entered his hand. This scorched earth contains fire attribute spiritual energy, but it isn't caused by a battle between cultivators. It seems more like a natural fire spirit. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. His body flickered, and he flew into the distance. I'm the only one within a radius of tens of thousands of kilometers. It is clear that everyone who entered this place didn't have a fixed place to stay. They were all scattered. Many thoughts flashed through Wang Lin's mind as he quickly flew into the distance. The moment his body left, a pair of green eyes slowly appeared on the scorched earth. The eyes revealed a strange light as they watched Wang Lin leave. Then, the eyes sank into the scorched earth and disappeared. Wang Lin's speed was very fast as he flew toward the edge of the scorched earth. Just at this moment, Wang Lin's body suddenly stopped, and he quickly retreated like a meteor. Boom! The moment he retreated, a ball of green flame silently appeared where Wang Lin was. This ball of green flame was the size of a person. The moment it appeared, the surrounding temperature became extremely high. Waves of heat spread out and dispersed the black smoke coming from the ground. However, the black smoke was like a twisting, wandering soul. Although it was dispersed, it turned into wisps of smoke in the blink of an eye. It changed its direction and no longer floated into the sky. Instead, it drilled into the cluster of green flames in an orderly manner. At this moment, a strange scene appeared in front of Wang Lin. The black smoke from the scorched earth was crazily surging toward the ball of green flame. A large amount of black gas quickly emerged from the cyan fireball. When this black gas was released, it looked like tentacles were growing out of the fireball. As Wang Lin retreated, a cold light flashed through his eyes. His right hand touched his bag of holding, and the celestial sword immediately appeared in his hand. He slashed forward without any hesitation. A crescent moon-like sword radiance immediately condensed between the heavens and the earth. Like a hurricane, it whistled through the air and charged towards the green fireball. At this moment, the black smoke around the cyan fireball strangely condensed and fused together to form a huge shield that blocked in front of it. Boom! A heaven-shaking explosion came from the shield, and it immediately dissipated. The sword energy shrunk by more than half and charged out of the black smoke. In a flash, it landed on the ball of fire. A crack the length of an arm appeared on the ball of fire, and smoke came out from it. The fireball swayed, and suddenly, a large amount of black gas from the scorched ground madly drilled into it. In the blink of an eye, the cracks were filled. At the same time, as the black gas fused into the fireball, it gradually changed into a human shape. This was a child that looked to be only 8 or 9 years old. His body was covered in black smoke, and his eyes were completely black. He looked at Wang Lin and revealed a happy smile. "Don't go. Play with me." From when Wang Lin slashed down the sword energy to when the ball of fire turned into a person, all of this happened in an extremely short amount of time. Wang Lin coldly looked at the child in front of him. At a glance, he could tell that this was not a demonic beast, but a fire spirit formed from the scorched earth. This kind of creature was not easy to kill. As long as the scorched earth didn't scatter, this creature would live forever. "Scram," Wang Lin coldly said. His body flickered, and he was about to leave this place. "Don't go." The child waved his right hand, and the scorched earth in front of Wang Lin began to rumble. Suddenly, a giant wall that was 300 meters tall appeared in front of Wang Lin. Wang Lin frowned, and his body disappeared. When he reappeared, he was tens of thousands of kilometers away from the scorched earth. The child's body floated to the edge of the scorched earth. He stood there and looked at Wang Lin, but he didn't take a step forward. It was clear that the scorched earth was where he could move. As he stared at Wang Lin, the child's face was covered in black gas. His eyes were especially dark, and they were a bit strange. Suddenly, he let out a fierce roar and floated up into the air. He spread open his arms, and immediately, a large amount of black aura surged out from his body. The black aura was like a flood dragon, and as soon as it emerged, it flew into the scorched earth from all directions. The scorched earth that spanned tens of thousands of kilometers suddenly rumbled and began to move strangely, slowly moving forward. Wang Lin frowned and coldly looked at the child. He didn't say anything and flew forward. When the child saw Wang Lin fly further and further away, he became anxious and let out a roar. The black gas in his body moved even faster, and the scorched earth moved even faster. However, it was clear that this speed couldn't compare to Wang Lin. Seeing that Wang Lin's figure had already disappeared, the child's expression became even more vicious. He let out a roar, and his body disappeared. He turned into a ball of green flames and sank into the scorched earth. The scorched earth immediately began to churn and squirm like a raging wave. After slowing down, it immediately began to extend forward at a crazy speed. It was not moving, but instead seemed to be stretched into a straight line. It extended forward at an unimaginable speed, like a long strip that was constantly growing. As Wang Lin flew, his eyes became cold, and he suddenly turned around. He saw a long line on the ground that was like a dragon chasing after him. In front of the long line was a ball of green flames, and the child's strange eyes were on it. "You're courting death." Before, Wang Lin's sword energy didn't contain celestial spiritual energy. At this moment, he touched his bag of holding, and a celestial jade appeared in his hand. Celestial spiritual energy entered his body, and his eyes shined. He held the celestial sword in his right hand and slowly raised it. As celestial spiritual energy entered the celestial sword, it released waves of golden-purple light. This light was very bright, and suddenly, Wang Lin swung down. The celestial sword slashed down like the might of the heavens. The sword ray contained celestial energy, and its power was countless times stronger. It turned into an afterimage as it flashed out from the celestial sword. Amidst the rumbling sounds, the sword ray flashed and directly landed on the scorched earth that was charging at them. Bang! The earth trembled. The moment the sword energy landed on the scorched earth, cracks appeared on the scorched earth. Cracking sounds echoed, and the cracks spread like crazy. In the blink of an eye, the long line of scorched earth was covered in cracks. Wang Lin softly said, "Break!" With a bang, the long line of scorched earth collapsed. Large amounts of scorched earth turned into particles and scattered in all directions. At this moment, a strange power was emitted from every single particle of the collapsing star crystal. Wang Lin's expression was strange. He waved his right hand, and one of the particles flew into his hand. After carefully looking at it, he turned around and quickly left. Shortly after he left, the grains of scorched earth fused with each other. Soon, another large patch of scorched earth was formed. The child's strange eyes gradually appeared inside the scorched earth. He looked at where Wang Lin disappeared and revealed a deep sense of unwillingness. "Don't go." Suddenly, the child looked behind him and saw a streak of light whistling over. The child's eyes were instantly filled with joy. After leaving the scorched earth, Wang Lin's expression was gloomy. At this moment, he was certain that the child formed by the scorched earth was not the fire spirit. If it was the fire spirit, then the attack just now would have definitely killed it. But now, the attack containing celestial spiritual energy only caused the scorched earth to collapse without any injury. Even the scorched earth is not damaged at all. The attack from the celestial sword only caused the particles to scatter. In truth, the scorched earth was formed from particles. This place is strange. When the scorched earth collapsed, I suddenly had a feeling that those particles were like souls. Could they be Fate's souls? Wang Lin suddenly paused and looked behind him. Chapter 445. A weak scream came from behind him, followed by a burst of happy laughter. Although this laughter didn't say anything, in Wang Lin's ears, it clearly contained a sentence. "Someone is playing with me." Wang Lin's expression was gloomy. He looked at the particle in his hand and scanned it with his divine sense. There was a force blocking his divine sense from entering. Wang Lin frowned and activated the celestial spiritual energy in his body. He infused his divine sense with celestial spiritual energy and scanned the particle. He immediately broke the restriction on the particle and entered it. The moment Wang Lin's divine sense entered the particle, the sound of a mirror shattering entered Wang Lin's mind. Shortly after, a small crack appeared on the particle, and a green flame appeared in Wang Lin's palm. Looking at this flame, Wang Lin's body trembled. Life soul. This was a mortal's life soul, and it contained a trace of the fire attribute. Anyone with this life soul couldn't cultivate and could only be immortal. The scorched earth is made up of these particles, and each particle is a life soul. All the life souls in there should be life souls of mortals who can't cultivate. That child is the fusion of countless life souls, forming a unified spirit body. No wonder the might of the celestial sword couldn't destroy it. Wang Lin's expression became even more gloomy. He looked at the green flame and placed it into the particle. The moment the life soul entered the particle, the crack on the particle immediately closed and returned to normal. He waved his right hand, and the particle was no longer restricted. It immediately flew out and quickly flew toward the scorched earth. Situ Nen once said that this life soul was inside the cultivation planet crystal. Why did I encounter a life soul the moment I entered this place? Could my life soul also be inside this creature? Wang Lin frowned and flew forward. Rosefinch's tomb was too big. After leaving the scorched earth, Wang Lin quickly picked a direction and flew forward. The terrain of Rosefinch's tomb was no different from the outside world. There were mountains and rivers, and the spiritual energy here was very dense. It was many times denser than the outside world. Even the spirit-gathering formations of some sects couldn't achieve this. 3 days later, Wang Lin's figure turned into a meteor and flew at a low altitude. He didn't stop to rest at all during these 3 days as he quickly flew toward the depths of the tomb. However, during these 3 days, even though Wang Lin's divine sense was spread out, he still couldn't find the end of the tomb. At this moment, he was flying on a plane. There were countless green grass growing on the plain, and he couldn't see the end of it. In these 3 days, he didn't see a single cultivator. As he was flying, Wang Lin's expression suddenly changed. He turned around and saw 2 rays of light flying toward him. One of them was a man, and the other was a woman. When they saw Wang Lin, they immediately stopped. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He moved his mind and hid his cultivation, making him look like a cultivator that had just reached the soul formation stage. The 2 divine senses scanned Wang Lin's body. Then, the 2 relaxed and slowly flew toward Wang Lin. When they were a few hundred feet away from Wang Lin, the 2 stopped. They didn't look very old. The man was a young man wearing a green robe. This green robe was a bit tattered, and there were even some black bloodstains on it. There was also a strange pattern on his sleeve. It was clearly the symbol of a sect. As for the woman, she was a bit ugly. Her face was covered in countless small pits. If a mortal saw her at night, they would definitely think she was a ghost. Although she wasn't beautiful, her figure was quite attractive. She was wearing a very clean white dress, and if one didn't look at her face, they would have a certain charm. The 2 of them stopped a few hundred feet away. The young man clasped his hands at Wang Lin and said, "I am Murong Yun. May I know your name?" Wang Lin's expression was normal as he smiled. "I am Qing Mu." The name Qing Mu was something Wang Lin used when he first entered the soul refining sect. Wang Lin could see the cultivation of the man and woman in front of him at a glance. The young man was at the mid-soul formation stage, while the woman was at the early soul formation stage. If they were outside of Rosefinch's tomb, they could be considered experts. However, inside Rosefinch's tomb, especially after a large number of eliminations, they seemed a bit weak. The reason they were able to enter this place was because they were in the country when Rosefinch's tomb opened. They were among the first to enter. Otherwise, with their cultivation, if they arrived a few days after Rosefinch's tomb opened, they definitely wouldn't have had a chance to enter. Murong Yin carefully looked at Wang Lin and said, "Fellow cultivator, I'm afraid you've only just reached the soul formation stage, right?" The woman next to him looked at Wang Lin coldly. Wang Lin faintly smiled and said, "That's right, I've only just reached the soul formation stage." Murong Yin carefully looked at Wang Lin. After confirming that Wang Lin was really at the early stage of soul formation, he let out a sigh of relief and said, "Fellow cultivator, this place is too dangerous. Fellow Taoist, this place is too dangerous. Why don't we team up? With more people, we'll have a higher chance of retrieving the Fate Soul." Wang Lin pondered a bit and said, "From fellow cultivator's tone, it sounds like you're more confident in retrieving the soul piece." As Wang Lin spoke, his eyes lit up an almost undetectable amount. Murong Yun laughed and said, "Fellow cultivator Qing Mu, you don't know this, but I was one of the first to enter. I personally saw how Qian Feng and the 8-leaf shamans of the Forsaken Immortal clan entered Rosefinch's tomb. If it wasn't for the fact that my cultivation level wasn't high enough, I would have entered Rosefinch's tomb as well." "Oh," Wang Lin faintly smiled and said, "I wonder how Qian Feng and company managed to enter." Murong Yun mysteriously smiled and said, "I can only tell Brother Qing Mu that the entrance is an altar. I personally saw them search for a long time before they finally entered the altar. However, the location of the altar is very remote and very dangerous. If we have more people and go together, our chances of success will be much higher." Wang Lin's eyes were calm as he looked at the person and nodded with a smile. "Don't waste words. Let's go." As the two of them talked, the woman next to Murong Yun coldly said. With that, she flew forward. Murong Yun looked at the woman's back and shook his head with regret. From the back, she looks like a peerless beauty. Unfortunately. With that, he clasped his hands at Wang Lin and followed. Wang Lin rubbed his chin as he slowly followed behind the two of them. He would occasionally look at Murong Yun, especially at the tattoo on Murong Yun's sleeve and the bloodstain that had turned black. He pondered for a long time. As they flew, Wang Lin calmly asked, "Fellow cultivator Murong, what kind of danger is lurking around the altar?" Murong Yun's eyes revealed a hint of fear. He took a deep breath and said, "I only saw from afar that 3 of the Forsaken Immortal clan's 8-leaf shamans died there. In addition, 2 soul transformation old monsters also died there. Until they died, I didn't see any enemies." Wang Lin revealed a smile that wasn't a smile. He faintly smiled and said, "Fellow cultivator Murong's luck is pretty good." Murong Yun was startled. He wryly smiled and said, "I was far away and ran very fast, so I wasn't affected. However, there's one thing I'm sure of. There's a very powerful existence there that is very dangerous. We need more people to have a chance of entering." Wang Lin looked at Murong Yun. He revealed a strange smile and no longer spoke. Murong Yun's heart sank. He carefully looked at Wang Lin again before turning around and continuing to fly. The 3 of them were very fast. With the ugly woman in the lead, they passed through the plain. At noon the next day, the woman stopped and looked into the distance. She coldly said, "You're not a good person. There is one person ahead." Just as she finished speaking, a ray of sword light swept over from a distance. As the sword light closed in on her, a cold aura instantly enveloped the surroundings. A white flying sword whistled through the air. There was a person standing on the sword. This person was an old man in gray robes. His hair was white, but his eyes were like lightning. At this moment, his face was gloomy, and he would occasionally look behind him. Wang Lin's eyes were like a torch. He immediately saw that there was a twisting bolt of lightning chasing after the old man. This bolt of lightning seemed to have intelligence. It was like a silver dragon chasing after the old man. While chasing, the old man on the flying sword looked at Murong Yun's group of 3. His gaze finally fell on Wang Lin, and he let out a soft exclamation of surprise. Wang Lin had seen this old man before. He was one of the 16 soul transformation cultivators at the bottom of Rosefinch Mountain. His cultivation level was at the early stage of soul transformation. He didn't stop and quickly said, "Fellow cultivator, quickly retreat. This thing is very strange." At this moment, Murong Yun seemed to casually sweep a glance at the lightning bolt that was chasing after the old man. This glance was completely ordinary, but the lightning bolt immediately came to a halt. A dissatisfied roar rang out from within, before it suddenly turned around and flew backwards, disappearing in the blink of an eye. This happened very quickly. If it wasn't for the fact that Wang Lin had been paying special attention to Murong Yun, he wouldn't have noticed this. The bolt of lightning quickly disappeared, and the old man on the flying sword was startled. He stopped and looked behind him. After a while, he frowned. Murong Yun walked up a few feet and respectfully clasped his hands. "Junior Murong Yun greets Senior." The old man coldly looked at Murong Yun but didn't say anything. Instead, he looked at Wang Lin and clasped his hands. Fellow cultivator Tseng, thank you. He thought for a long time, but couldn't guess why the thing chasing them had left. In the end, he guessed that it had something to do with Tseng Niu. After all, Tseng Niu was very famous, so he must have some spells. The moment the words fellow cultivator Tseng came out, the ugly woman suddenly turned around and carefully looked at Wang Lin. Wang Lin faintly smiled and shook his head. It wasn't me. The old man's eyes lit up and he smiled. Let's not talk about this anymore. I'm Mo Yunhai. Does fellow cultivator Tseng have any clues about how to enter this place? Chapter 446. Wang Lin didn't speak, but looked at Murong Yun. Mo Yunhai's heart skipped a beat. Murong Yun faintly smiled and clasped his hands. Junior Murong Yun greets Senior. Mo Yunhai softly said, Do you know the way to enter the inner region? Murong Yun nodded and smiled. Senior Mo, I do know, but Senior needs to promise to bring Junior inside. If Senior agrees, then I'll tell you everything I know. Mo Yunhai's eyes lit up, and he said, Speak. The old man agrees. Murong Yun's eyes revealed joy, and he said, Junior will lead the way. There's an altar there. It is the only path to the inner region. Mo Yunhai asked, Is there any danger there? Murong Yun quickly replied, There is. I personally saw several 8-leaf shamans die there. However, there were 4 of them, and the first to enter didn't encounter any danger. Mo Yunhai frowned. He looked at Wang Lin and clasped his hands. Fellow cultivator Tseng, what do you think? Wang Lin faintly smiled at Murong Yun and then said to Mo Yunhai, If we work together, even if we can't pass through, we should be able to keep ourselves alive. Mo Yunhai laughed and nodded. He said to Murong Yun, Brat, lead the way. Murong Yun quickly nodded. He looked at Wang Lin and wryly smiled. Senior is not a soul formation cultivator. Junior didn't recognize you before, so I hope Senior won't take offense. With that, he flew in front with Mo Yunhai behind him. Mo Yunhai signaled to Wang Lin, and the 2 of them followed behind him. As for the ugly woman, she hesitated for a moment before following after them. Although Murong Yun's speed was fast, in Mo Yunhai's eyes, it was still too slow. Half an hour later, Mo Yunhai let out a snort. He jumped up and grabbed Murong Yun. He turned to Wang Lin and said, Fellow Taoist Tseng, you and I will take 1 each and use our full speed to reach the altar as soon as possible. Otherwise, once the cultivation planet crystal shatters, we will all die here. As he spoke, he grabbed Murong Yun and increased his speed. He turned into a shooting star and disappeared from the spot in the blink of an eye. Wang Lin's eyes flickered and he waved his right hand. The ugly woman was immediately enveloped by a strange force, and Wang Lin carried her off into the distance. Senior, are you Tseng Niu? That woman stood beside Wang Lin, and a delicate fragrance floated over, drilling into Wang Lin's nose. Wang Lin looked straight ahead, his eyes calm as he said, It's me. The woman pondered for a bit. After a while, she suddenly said, Senior, be careful of Murong Yun. After she said that, she didn't say another word. Wang Lin and Mo Yunhai's speed was very fast. Under Murong Yun's lead, they quickly crossed the plain and flew off into the distance. 3 days later, an endless mountain range appeared on the ground. A black mist covered the mountain range. The black mist churned and surged, giving off a strange feeling. On the west side of the mountain range, there was a mountain peak. This mountain peak was very high and pierced through the black fog. Only half of the mountain could be seen. Under Murong Yun's lead, Mo Yunhai charged into the black fog and flew toward the top of the mountain. Wang Lin followed. He swept the area with his divine sense, and his eyes lit up. Inside the black fog, Wang Lin spat out a ray of black light. This ray of black light immediately disappeared into the black fog. Then he slapped his bag of holding and took out another item. With a shake, that item also disappeared into the black fog. He did all of this casually, so the woman next to him didn't notice anything. The difference in their cultivation levels was too great, so if Wang Lin wanted to hide it, there was no way the woman would notice. The mountain in the black fog was a little blurry, as if it was wrapped in a layer of black muslin, giving it a hazy charm. At the top of the mountain was a huge platform, and on the platform was a black altar that was about 100 feet wide. The altar was in the shape of a tower, and at the top of the flight of stairs was a circular depression. A black gas drifted out from there and quickly merged with the surrounding fog. Mo Yunhai grabbed Murong Yun and leaped up, landing on the platform from midair. Wang Lin landed after him. He saw that there were many dried-up blood stains on the platform, and a fishy smell filled the area. There were also howls coming from the black fog that sounded like the cries of ghosts. After Wang Lin landed, he let go of the woman. His eyes lit up and he looked around. This place was very different from the place Situ Nan said it was. The altar Situ Nan said was inside a valley, not on top of this mountain. His eyes became cold for an instant. Mo Yunhai spread out his divine sense and looked around. He pointed at the altar and said, "Junior Murong, is this the altar you were talking about?" Murong Yun quickly nodded and said with certainty, "Senior, this is the place. However, Senior, be careful. Aside from the first person to enter, all of the 8-leaf shamans from the Forsaken Immortal clan died mysteriously when they reached the top of the altar." Mo Yunhai looked at Murong Yun. Then his right hand reached out and grabbed Murong Yun again. He placed his right hand on the top of Murong Yun's head. His eyes revealed a demonic light, and he whispered, "Soul Search Technique." Murong Yun let out a miserable groan, and his body began to tremble. Mo Yunhai's demonic eyes became brighter and brighter. Finally, Murong Yun's body trembled, and he let go. Murong Yun was like a pile of mud as he fell to the ground. His body released a deathly aura, and he remained motionless. Fellow cultivator Tsung, this person didn't lie. Mo Yunhai jumped onto the altar and shouted, "Fellow cultivator Tsung, I'll go down to scout the way. I ask fellow cultivator to protect me." "Okay." Wang Lin's eyes revealed a hint of mockery. Mo Yunhai's figure was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, he arrived at the top of the altar. As he stood there, his expression suddenly became strange. His eyes revealed a strange light as he looked down at the depression in the altar. After a while, his eyes revealed a hint of joy, and he laughed. "It really is here. Fellow cultivator Tsang, I'll be going first." With that, he stepped into the depression and disappeared in a flash. The ugly woman hesitated for a bit. She looked at Murong Yun and then at Wang Lin without saying a word. Wang Lin sneered. He didn't look at the altar, but at Murong Yun. He flicked his finger, and a spiritual art flew out toward Murong Yun's forehead. The moment the spiritual art landed, Murong Yun opened his eyes. He raised his right hand and grabbed the spiritual art. With a squeeze, the spiritual art collapsed. He stood up and looked at Wang Lin. His face was covered in black gas, and his originally handsome face had become ferocious. "When did you find out?" He stared at Wang Lin, and his voice contained a mysterious force. Wang Lin's gaze was calm as he said, "I can tell you, but you have to answer a few questions." Murong Yun's eyes lit up, and he said in a sinister tone, "Interesting. Answer me first." Wang Lin calmly said, "Most cultivators are obsessed with cleanliness. They usually keep a few extra sets of clothes in their storage bags. It's very rare for them to see you in such a sorry state." Murong Yun sneered and said, "Just because of this?" Wang Lin's expression remained the same as he stared at Murong Yun and said, "Of course there are other reasons. Now I want to know, what are you?" "I'm formed from a fate soul. Tell me what other reasons there are." Murong Yun coldly snorted. "Your clothes are too old. They don't look like something a cultivator would wear when they just entered this place. What is your motive?" Wang Lin asked. "I don't have a motive. I just don't want you to obtain the cultivation planet crystal. Also, are these the only 2 reasons you mentioned?" Murong Yun frowned. Wang Lin sighed and shook his head. "The last reason is because of the pattern on your clothes." At this point, Wang Lin's right hand suddenly moved. The celestial force in his body surged. In an instant, a celestial art containing celestial force appeared before Wang Lin. As he raised his right hand, the celestial art whistled through the air and descended on Murong Yun. Murong Yun sneered. His body didn't move, but the moment the celestial spell landed on his body, his entire body dissipated into wisps of black smoke. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared into the surrounding black fog. Wang Lin didn't chase after him. Instead, his eyes flashed with mockery. A scream came from the black fog, and black smoke quickly flew back and reformed into Murong Yun. At this moment, Murong Yun's expression was extremely ugly. He looked around, stared at Wang Lin, and said, "You're not an ordinary soul transformation cultivator." A 30-meter long banner floated out from the black fog. The banner was about 30 meters long. When it spread out, it looked like a wave. A large amount of souls were moving in and out of the banner. More than 10 primary souls were flickering inside the black fog. Their gazes were all locked onto Murong Yun. Among these primary souls, there was a golden purple Qilin. Its huge eyes were filled with a fierce glow. On the way to Rosefinch Mountain with Situ Nan, Wang Lin refined the 1 billion soul banner again. He merged all the soul banners into the 1 billion soul banner. Li Yuan Feng and the remnant soul of the Qilin had become the primary souls of the 1 billion soul banner. At this moment, there were a total of 28 primary souls inside the 1 billion soul banner. "Do you think you can trap me like this?" Murong Yin sneered. His body suddenly charged forward and turned into countless strands of black smoke that crazily tried to drill into Wang Lin's nose and mouth. Wang Lin retreated. His eyes were cold as he raised his right hand and pointed forward. He softly said, "Seal." All of a sudden, another large flag appeared within the black fog. The flag waved through the air, and countless restrictions surged forth in a frenzy from all directions, forming an inescapable net that sealed the countless thin threads together. The ball was around the height of a grown man, and it rapidly shrank to the size of a fist in the end. This ball was formed by restrictions. Rows of densely packed restrictions completely sealed the thin threads inside. Chapter 447. Spiritual items made of soul pieces were very difficult to kill. Even if they were killed, the one that died wouldn't be them, but the owner of Suzuka's soul piece. If Wang Lin used his celestial spiritual energy and didn't hold back, he could kill these soul pieces. However, once they disappeared, more soul pieces would appear to reform them. It could be said that these spiritual items made of soul pieces were, in a sense, immortal. Unless the cultivation planet crystal shattered, then these soul pieces would collapse. No one knew if the next soul piece that appeared would contain the soul piece of someone they knew. If it did appear, how to deal with it. If it was one's own soul piece, then it would be easy. After all, there was a mysterious connection between the soul piece and the soul piece. Of course, there were many cold-blooded cultivators that entered Rosefinch's tomb. Some of them found out about this secret after observing for a while, so they began a massacre. They destroyed soul pieces one by one and waited for more soul pieces to reform. They repeated this stupid method in hopes of finding their own soul piece. Qianfeng was one of them. At this moment, Qianfeng was inside Rosefinch's tomb. There was a large cave in the middle of the mountain. Qianfeng was sitting in the lotus position outside the cave with a gloomy expression. He was the first person to enter Rosefinch's tomb. Here, he encountered spiritual items made of soul pieces that couldn't be killed at all. In the end, the first people to enter the tomb all encountered existences similar to Murong Yun. They all rushed toward the mountain where Wang Lin was. There someone was tricked into the altar. Qianfeng didn't fall for it and secretly escaped. After a lot of hard work, he finally found the real entrance and entered the inner part of Rosefinch's tomb. Although the inner part was smaller than the outer part, it was still very large. Not only were there more soul pieces, some of them were very strong. Qianfeng couldn't resist them and could only retreat. While he was inside, he still couldn't find the first Rosefinch's tomb. As time passed, more and more cultivators and Forsaken Immortal clan members entered. Qianfeng personally saw a familiar soul transformation cultivator die after several Forsaken Immortal clan members used a large amount of tattoos to kill a powerful spirit creature. That familiar cultivator's eyes dimmed, and he fell to the ground. There were no signs of this happening before. This scene caused everyone in the surroundings to be shocked. Feng found that this person's origin soul had been destroyed, and he was completely dead. Those that could enter Rosefinch's tomb were all very cunning, so they immediately realized the reason for this. As a result, they would be wary of fighting those spiritual items. However, the more they acted like this, the more they wouldn't be able to win. They're like a dead knot. Feng had been sitting outside the cave for almost half a month. The anxiety in his heart made him very restless. He didn't know how long it would take for the cultivation planet crystal to collapse. If he didn't get his soul piece back soon, the only thing waiting for him would be death. Son Rosefinch, you old bastard, if you want to die, then die. Why do you want everyone to die with you? Feng clenched his teeth and punched the ground. He took a deep breath and his eyes lit up. He looked at the cave before him and calculated the time. Then he slapped his bag of holding and a black gourd appeared in his hand. His right hand formed a seal, pointed at the gourd and shouted, "Red butterfly, come out." A ray of golden light came from the gourd and red butterfly appeared next to Feng. She was dressed in red, and her appearance was as beautiful as ever, but her eyes were still empty and lifeless. At this moment, there was no longer the heroic bearing and arrogance she had in the past. There was only heartbreaking sorrow and indifference from a dead heart. This gourd was an important treasure of the Feng family. Rumor has it that it was left behind by their ancestor. There was another world inside the gourd. Not only could it store items, but it could also store living people. Feng said, "Time is up. It should have recovered. Go lure it out." Red Butterfly didn't say anything and slowly walked into the cave. Feng took a deep breath and his hand formed a seal. Celestial spiritual energy gathered between his fingers and formed a fist-sized ball of light. Feng's expression was gloomy as he stared into the depths of the cave. Shortly after, a roar came from the cave, followed by the rumbling of the ground. There was a flash of red light and Red Butterfly appeared next to Feng. At the same time, a tall figure ran out of the cave. This was a giant that was more than 30 meters tall. His entire body was emitting a black glow, and traces of black gas constantly lingered around him. Every time he took a step, the ground would tremble. The moment this person walked out of the cave, Feng's eyes became cold, and he pushed the ball of light forward. This ball was as fast as lightning as it shot toward the giant figure. An angry roar came from the giant figure's mouth. Shortly after, the giant figure's body trembled and collapsed into countless black threads that scattered in all directions, avoiding the ball of light. Feng shouted, "Explode." The moment he said that, the crystal ball exploded with a bang. It brought with it a powerful impact of celestial spiritual energy and shot out in all directions at a speed even faster than lightning. The entire mountain suddenly trembled and a large amount of it collapsed. As the rumbling sounds echoed, the countless threads that were flying in all directions dissipated without exception. They were directly destroyed. This is already the 69th one, and I still haven't found my fate soul. Feng's brows furrowed. He knew that this method wasn't the best, but not only was the interior of Rosefinch's tomb very large, there were also many dangers. With his cultivation, he wouldn't be able to find the cultivation planet crystal, so he could only choose this stupid method and hope for a miracle. Outside of Rosefinch's tomb, on a mountain with the altar, Wang Lin grabbed a black ball and jumped down for the top of the mountain. As for the ugly woman, Wang Lin didn't pay any attention to her. Wang Lin's voice was calm as he slowly said, "I won't kill you, but I can seal you. This seal is permanent. Although you won't die right now, once the owners of your fate souls reach the end of their lifespans, you will completely die." While he was inside Rosefinch's tomb, he had been thinking about how to deal with these fate souls. After thinking about it for a long time, he came up with this method. He could use the restriction flag to seal the fate souls inside the soul. This way, after a long time, it would be able to seal the soul. Adding on the fact that a soul of the same cultivation level could fuse with the soul, it would be impossible for the soul to reform. As long as all the fate souls inside the soul naturally died, the soul would die. Wang Lin didn't have time to test if this method would work or not. But when Murong Yun heard it, it was like a bolt of lightning that shocked him. Murong Yun's roar came from the black ball. I can't be killed. After the fate souls inside my body die, I can take them back and revive. Wang Lin coldly snorted and landed at the foot of the cliff. He pointed at the ground with his right hand, causing the ground to tremble. With a loud bang, a large hole that was several meters deep appeared in the ground. Wang Lin jumped into the hole and placed the black ball inside. Then, he began to place restrictions around it. Murong Yun, who was inside the black ball, noticed Wang Lin's actions and immediately said, "What are you doing?" Wang Lin calmly said, "I'm going to seal you here. After 100 years, I'll come back and see if you're dead or not. Then, I'll know if my method is effective or not." "You, what exactly do you want?" Murong Yun was silent for a few breaths before he roared. Wang Lin's eyes lit up, and he calmly said, "I want my fate soul." Murong Yun quickly said, "That's impossible. We are created from a cultivation planet crystal and are formed from fate souls. It is impossible to take a specific fate soul. Furthermore, a spiritual object like me isn't strong enough to take a cultivator's fate soul like yours. Only the stronger ones inside can take a powerful cultivator's fate soul from the cultivation planet crystal." Wang Lin's eyes turned cold. He slightly shook his head and placed a last seal. Then, he jumped and left the deep hole. At the bottom of the deep hole, the only thing left was the black ball, wrapped in restrictions. It was placed on the ground by itself. Surrounding it were flashing restrictions made from magic techniques. I know the real way to enter the inside." Murong Yun immediately roared. He didn't dare to gamble. If he really lost, then he might really die. Wang Lin looked at the mountain range in the distance and shook his head. "I also know." With that, his right hand pressed down on the ground. The cracked ground immediately began to close up. Just as it was about to be completely sealed, Murong Yun's roar could be heard. "We have a king inside the tomb. He is the first spiritual object to be born here. Only he can take a specific fate soul from the cultivation planet crystal." It's true. How can I find it?" Wang Lin pointed at the ground and stopped the closing up. Murong Yun quickly explained, "In the inner region, keep heading east. There are 9 mountain peaks that are connected together, forming a deep valley. What's spreading out from that valley isn't black fog, but white fog. It's very easy to recognize. At the bottom of that deep valley is where the king resides." Wang Lin's eyes lit up. He raised his right hand and his body moved. He disappeared and the crack closed up once again. "You." Murong Yun's voice came to a screeching halt as the ground finally closed up, leaving no gaps. When Wang Lin reappeared, he was outside a valley in the depths of the mountain range. When he first saw the mountain range, he had scanned it with his divine sense and noticed this valley. There was an altar inside the valley. This altar was exactly the same as the one at the top of the mountain. However, when Wang Lin's figure entered the valley, he suddenly stopped and his eyes flashed with a cold light. An extremely beautiful woman was sitting at the edge of the altar. Her beautiful eyes were looking at Wang Lin. Lu Mei. Chapter 448. This woman was Lu Mei. She was wearing a light pink dress with a light blue butterfly embroidered on the hem of her dress. She was also wearing a layer of white silk. There was a gentle breeze that made her feel as if she was being blown away by the wind. Her silky black hair casually floated down to her waist. Her figure was slender, and her waist was slim, making her look even more lovely. Lu Mei smiled and softly said, "Wang Lin." Wang Lin's expression became cold. He looked at the altar next to Lu Mei and calmly said, "Make way." Lu Mei's eyes revealed a trace of weakness as she looked at Wang Lin and softly said, "Wang Lin, do you hate me?" Wang Lin slightly frowned as he coldly looked at Lu Mei and said, "Make way." At this moment, a cool breeze blew in from outside the valley. It blew away the hair on Lu Mei's forehead, giving her a sense of otherworldly beauty. Lu Mei's appearance was very beautiful. She tucked her hair behind her ear. There was a hint of bitterness in her eyes as she looked at Wang Lin and stood up. "Wang Lin, what a cold-hearted person. Could it be that in your heart, besides Li Muan, There is no room for anyone else. Wang Lin's eyes became cold as he coldly looked at Lu Mei. He touched his bag of holding, and the celestial sword appeared in his hand. Without any hesitation, he poured celestial energy into the celestial sword, causing it to release a blinding light as he slashed forward. One sword to break the heavens. This sword, filled with celestial energy, was like a meteor descending from the heavens. It brought with it a powerful shockwave as it whistled through the valley. Lu Mei's expression was calm as she formed a seal and pointed at the air in front of her. Suddenly, the image of a peacock appeared in front of her. At this moment, the sword energy arrived. The peacock's eyes shined with a green light. Its body trembled, and more than 10 beautiful feathers fell off its body to block in front of it. Boom! As the sword light and the feather collided, shockwaves spread out, causing Wang Lin and Lu Mei's clothes to flap. Lu Mei's eyes flashed. She looked at Wang Lin and said softly, "You're really at the early stage of soul transformation. Wang Lin, your cultivation level has increased so quickly." A cold light flashed in Wang Lin's eyes. He looked at the celestial sword in his hand and gently stroked it with his left hand. He said solemnly, "Lu Mei, I'll say this one last time. Get out of the way. Otherwise, Wang will attack with full force." Lu Mei pursed her lips and shook her head. She said softly, "I can't let you. Wang Lin, if you enter, you will not survive. Why don't you give me your state, and I will help you retrieve your fate spirit." Wang Lin looked at Lu Mei and said with a smile, "Merciless illusion Tao, Lu Mei, do you think I still haven't seen through it?" Lu Mei's eyes didn't change at all. She gently smiled and said, "Of course not. That large-eared cultivator must have wanted you to understand my state, which is why he came to meet me. That's right, my state is the merciless illusion Tao. Your comprehension of life and death is also the most merciless thing in the heavenly Tao. If the heavens have feelings, then it naturally wouldn't become a Tao. You and I are essentially the same. I used the 1,000 illusion Tao to comprehend the life and death of different people, which allowed me to cultivate the merciless Tao. You, on the other hand, also started with feelings to comprehend life and death, to see through the mortal world, and to comprehend the reincarnation Tao. I presume you have already understood that the reincarnation Tao is also a merciless Tao. You and I are the same kind of person." Wang Lin stared at Lu Mei and slapped his bag of holding to take out the restriction flag. He didn't want to use the 1 billion soul flag so soon. The true use of the 1 billion soul flag should be left until the end, when fighting for fate spirits or the king of fate spirits. With a shake of the restriction flag, the restrictions on the flag turned into strands of restriction chi that filled the valley. "Lu Mei, Rosefinch's son is about to die. There is no need for us to fight," Wang Lin said in a serious tone. After all, Lu Mei was at the mid-stage of soul transformation. If she didn't use the 1 billion soul flag, it would be very difficult for her to have an outcome in a short period of time. If she wasted too much time, it would affect her chances of obtaining fate spirits, which would ruin her plan. Lu Mei chuckled and looked up at the sky. The gentleness in her eyes disappeared and was replaced with a cold, merciless gaze. "Wang Lin, even if Master didn't ask me to come find you, I would still fight you. I will borrow your Tao to help my 1,000 illusion Tao reach completion. Make your move." Wang Lin's eyes turned cold. His hands formed a seal, and he pointed forward with his right hand as he softly said, "Restriction." Suddenly, the restrictions inside the restriction flag flew out like crazy and echoed inside the valley. The restrictions began to flash nonstop. These lights condensed in front of Wang Lin and turned into a long, black spear that floated in the air. Purple lightning quickly moved around the spear and crackled. Wang Lin's body turned into an afterimage as he grabbed the spear. The celestial spiritual energy in his body surged into the spear, and the spear released a golden-purple glow. Every restriction that formed the spear was infused with celestial spiritual energy, causing a desolate aura to fill the valley. Scram! Wang Lin let out a roar as he leaped into the air, and turned into a black shadow. He stabbed out with the spear like a dragon swimming through the sea. A series of rumbling sounds could be heard from the places where the spear passed, as if it was shocking to the heavens. Situ, Nan had explained this altar to him before. This altar was created by the first-generation rosefinch and was used for teleportation. After the cultivation planet crystal was activated, the altar was attacked by the mysterious power of the cultivation planet crystal and gained some abilities. Even if it was destroyed, it would only take a few days for it to condense again. The cycle would repeat endlessly. Its characteristics were a little similar to that spiritual item. Wang Lin said, in a serious tone, "What exactly is your goal?" Lu Mei faintly smiled as she looked at Wang Lin and softly said, "I don't have a goal. I just want to fight you with my domain." Wang Lin stared at Lu Mei. He squeezed his right hand, and the 1 billion soul scroll disappeared. His left hand formed a seal and pointed at his brow. The sky suddenly darkened, as if it was being torn apart by an invisible hand. Bursts of gray gas appeared in the sky. As more and more gray gas appeared, a giant scroll came out of the gray gas and spread out in the sky. The moment the scroll appeared, it released a mysterious power that surrounded the area. Lu Mei's eyes lit up. She took a deep breath, sat down cross-legged on the altar, and closed her eyes. The moment she closed her eyes, the peacock before her let out a cry and floated into the air. It floated above Lu Mei and began to grow. In the blink of an eye, it had turned into a 30-meter-tall peacock. That was especially true of its screen, which was incomparably enormous. It practically covered the entire valley. My Tao is the 1,000 illusions merciless Tao, just like the 1,000 feathers on the peacock's tail. Each feather is an illusion. In truth, my Tao isn't really one illusion, but 999. When the last illusion is formed, my domain will reach the late stage of soul transformation. Wang Lin, can you grant me my last illusion? Lu Mei's voice came from the peacock. Wang Lin's eyes were cold as he raised his right hand and pointed at the sky. The scroll in the sky let out a thunderous roar, and the colors of mountains and rivers appeared on the scroll. Within the black and white scroll, strands of gray gas appeared. I'll grant you your last illusion. I'll make sure you remember it for the rest of your life and never forget it. Wang Lin's voice was cold as he waved his right hand. Chapter 449. Suddenly, a loud rumble came from the scroll in the sky. A large amount of gray gas came down from the scroll and formed a giant dragon. It let out a roar and charged toward the peacock above Lu Mei to devour it. The peacock let out a shrill cry. That cry was clear, as if it could pierce through the 9 heavens. She lifted her head high, and her peacock tail bloomed in a demonic manner. As it shone, 7 colors of red, orange, yellow, green, cyan, blue, and purple immediately shone with a demonic light and a deep sense of ruthlessness and indifference. Suddenly, a new domain appeared beneath the painting of the cycle of life and death. This domain contained a ruthlessness that could cause the frost to grow colder and could cause the 4 seasons to change. Wang Lin felt this cold domain from inside the valley. It was a kind of ruthlessness, a kind of coldness from the heavens. At this moment, the peacock was only an illusion. The one who was truly looking at the dragon was Lu Mei. Her gaze was cold, ruthless, and proud. Although this gaze was similar to red butterflies' ruthlessness was very different from ruthlessness. Only people with feelings would cut off their friendship. This is ruthlessness. As for the Tian surname, he was a merciless person. He was merciless and merciless, so he was naturally 1 level higher. The heavens let out a roar and arrived next to the peacock. In a flash, it collapsed and turned into a mass of gray gas that surrounded the peacock. Nothing in the world can escape life and death. If it exists, then it will continue to exist. If it should dissipate, then it will dissipate. Wang Lin let out a sigh. He thought of Li Muan. The peacock let out another cry, and the rainbow light on its body fused together to form a rainbow that pierced through the gray gas and into the sky. It fused with the landscape on the painting. The most beautiful things in the world are often the most ruthless. The rainbow is beautiful and receives the attention of billions of people, but it is also ruthless. No one can make it stay. It was just like a peacock screen. Although it was beautiful, it was nothing more than dust. As the rainbow merged with the painting in the sky, the colors within it were no longer black and white. Instead, there was a hint of color. The gray aura around the sparrow was no longer a single color. Instead, it was complemented by other colors. 999 illusions. Just one more, and I'll be able to cultivate 1,000 illusions. Wang Lin, where is that illusion? If that's all you've got, if you don't use the Honorable Soul banner, then you disappoint me. I could have attacked you the first time we met in the soul refining school, but you were too weak back then. Your intent wasn't even at the peak of the soul transformation stage, so you couldn't solidify it. Right now, your domain has reached the great circle of divinity transformation, and you can materialize it, but why is it still like this? If you only have these methods, then today, you won't be able to form the final illusion. Wang Lin's expression remained the same. He raised his head and looked at the painting of the cycle of life and death in the sky, remaining silent. The painting was filled with 7 colors, but the black and white domains weren't all there was to it. The mountains and rivers in the painting gradually became more realistic. Not only were there colors, but even the trees on the mountain that were originally painted with 2 colors were now filled with green. You said that what should exist, and what should dissipate, but did you really do that? Wang Lin, I never thought that your domain would have such a big flaw. No wonder you never wanted to use your domain to attack. So that's why? Lu Mei's voice was filled with a strong sense of disappointment. Wang Lin's eyes were cold. He waved his right hand, and a pink mist flew out from his bag of holding. In a flash, it flew into the painting in the sky. What should dissipate will naturally dissipate, but what should exist, if it dissipates, I definitely won't allow it. Lu Mei, I'm here to deliver your final illusion, Wang Lin coldly said. At this moment, a speck of pink appeared in the life and death painting in the sky. This speck of pink revealed the shadow of a delicate body. This shadow wasn't Li Muan, but the little sister fairy that Su Ligua spoke of. The third ancestor of the Forsaken Immortal clan cultivated a sliver of her domain when she turned into a cultivator. When the third ancestor returned to the Forsaken Immortal clan, she gave up on her domain, causing her origin soul to collapse. However, this sliver of domain was extremely tough and never dissipated. After Wang Lin obtained it, he put it inside his bag of holding. This was his real ace against Lu Mei. In truth, before he received Zhou Wutai's jade about Lu Mei's domain, Wang Lin already had this plan in mind. Although this plan was vicious, if Lu Mei was stubborn, then Wang Lin wouldn't have hesitated to use it. Later, when he saw Zhou Wutai's jade, he was even more certain that this sliver of domain was what he needed to deal with Lu Mei. In order to break the ruthless Tao, one must have the most yin and silver domain in the world. One must use the desire of silver to break the ruthless Tao. At the same time, a burst of evil laughter came from the painting. Mei Ji's demonic figure gradually became more solid. She seemed to be moaning inside the life and death painting as she said, "What a vicious heart to trap me there for so long. Now that you have a use for me, you let me out. Wang Lin, could it be that your heart is made of stone? However, this lowly one really likes this physical body." As she spoke, she began to laugh. This laughter caused even Wang Lin's mind to tremble. It took him a long time to recover. A black mist appeared on the celestial sword, and Su Ligua appeared. He stared at Mei Ji with lust in his eyes. "This is..." Lu Mei's hesitant voice came from the peacock. There was no pity in Wang Lin's eyes as he softly said, "The Tao of life and death, reincarnation." The painting in the sky suddenly closed. It was as if 2 raging waves were crashing into each other from the north and south. The painting closed with a snap. After it closed, the rainbow immediately shattered and the 7-colored light was forced out. However, the painting suddenly trembled and then suddenly spread to the north and south. However, there were no longer mountains and rivers in the painting. There was only the figure of a woman. This woman was extremely beautiful, and her eyes were filled with evil. She covered her mouth and let out a chuckle. She jumped out of the painting and turned into a pink mist. She descended from the sky toward the giant peacock above Lu Mei. A trace of hesitation could be seen in the eyes of the peacock. This gaze directly conveyed Lu Mei's current feelings. This kind of hesitation was rarely seen on her. "Lu Mei, didn't you want the last illusion?" Wang Lin calmly asked. The hesitation in the peacock's eyes disappeared, and it returned to its previous indifference. Lu Mei's voice came from within. "Wang Lin, you're so despicable." Wang Lin's expression remained the same. At this moment, the pink mist that Meiji had turned into moved like a meteor. It split in half and entered the peacock's eyes before disappearing. The peacock's body suddenly released waves of pink mist. This mist was filled with an aphrodisiac aura. The peacock's body trembled and collapsed into specks of light that disappeared, revealing Lu Mei, who was sitting on the altar. At this moment, her face was a rosy red color. This made her already beautiful appearance even more vibrant and could make anyone's heart beat faster. However, Wang Lin's gaze was still cold. Wang Lin didn't care if Meiji's soul realm could successfully devour Lu Mei. He also didn't care if Lu Mei could finish the last illusion. To be more accurate, there was no deep hatred between him and Lu Mei. All of this was a bit complicated. If Lu Mei hadn't insisted on fighting, Wang Lin wouldn't have used Meiji. Just as Lu Mei had said, using Meiji to break Lu Mei's emotionless path with the evil silver intent was too despicable. However, Wang Lin didn't care about any of this. His body moved, and he walked forward. As long as he entered the altar, he would be teleported to Rose Finch's tomb. Wang Lin had already made up his mind. He would first search for the first Rose Finch's tomb. If he could find it, that would be for the best. If he couldn't find it, then he would search for the king of spiritual creatures and take back his fate soul. After obtaining his fate soul, Wang Lin wouldn't care about Suzaku anymore. He would immediately leave Suzaku and leave this place. During these years, Wang Lin had a feeling that the Tua's son in the land of the ancient god was about to break free from God Ji's control. Once he does, Wang Lin knew that he wouldn't be able to fight back against him. At this moment, on the continent of Rosefinch, in the eastern part of the country of Rosefinch, the Forsaken Immortal clan's first ancestor, Yangzi, the third ancestor, and the two tin-leaf ancestral spirits were sitting together in the lotus position. Their life plants were flashing between their eyebrows, giving off a demonic glow. There was a skull between them. There was a rune engraved on the skull. This rune was countless times more complex than the ones Wang Lin had obtained. There was simply no way to compare. In particular, there was an unimaginably powerful aura condensed on top of the skull. Ancestor Su received guidance from the ancient god of my planet Tattoo and broke through to the 11-leaf stage, becoming the third 12-leaf shaman in the history of my clan. His skull tattoo already contains godly power. This time, we should be able to send one person into Rosefinch's tomb. Yangzi's eyes were filled with respect as he looked at the skull. The first ancestor slowly said, "Then who will go?" The third ancestor, that charming woman, was no longer in the mood to smile. She let out a sigh and said, "It would be best if the first ancestor goes." Unfortunately, the first ancestor's body is at the bottom of the Forsaken Immortal clan. I don't know if your tattoo soul will be affected in Rosefinch's tomb. How about, just as she got to this point, her expression suddenly changed. She looked toward the direction of Rosefinch's tomb, and a strange expression appeared on her face. That sliver of my domain from back, then, is actually trying to possess someone. How could I let her do as she wishes? As for the next monthly ticket. Chapter 450. Yun Kazi was startled and asked, "The silver demonic domain you had back then?" The third ancestor nodded and said, "That's the silver demonic domain you had back then. If it succeeds, it will take away a part of my origin. How could I let it succeed? After I separated it back then, I didn't expect it to be obtained by a little cultivator. I presume that little cultivator is currently in Rosefinch's tomb. Although I am unable to indirectly destroy that sliver of concept, I can cause it to change. It is fine if it is an ordinary situation, but during the process of possession, this slight change can cause the possession to fail. After the third ancestor finished speaking, she pointed at the spot between her eyebrows, and the strange plant on her forehead began to move strangely. Runes came out from between her eyebrows and slowly disappeared into the void. Inside Rosefinch's tomb, Wang Lin walked into the altar and immediately felt a teleportation power appear. He squatted down and placed his right hand on the altar, preparing to teleport out. Just at this moment, a large amount of pink mist came out of Lu Mei's orifices without any warning. Mei Ji's cry of alarm echoed. How could this be? There is a power similar to my origin interfering with my possession. How could this be? Ever since Mei Ji was born, she had no memories of the past. This was the first time she had encountered something like this. When she entered Lu Mei's body and was trying to break Lu Mei's domain, she suddenly felt a stabbing pain from the depths of her soul. This pain immediately caused her to lose all of her abilities, and an extreme sense of weakness filled her body. As a result, she was immediately attacked by Lu Mei's domain and was forced out of Lu Mei's body. The moment Mei Ji rushed out of Lu Mei's orifices, Lu Mei opened her eyes and softly said, "The last illusion, you can't escape." As Lu Mei spoke, a large amount of pink mist was sucked back into her orifices. Mei Ji let out a scream, but her body was still weak. She revealed a trace of despair, but she immediately clenched her teeth and said, "Since I can't possess her, merge with her." After saying that, Mei Ji used some unknown method, but her soul began to shine with a demonic light. Finally, with a bang, it collapsed. Even the strand of demonic silver domain was destroyed, and everything was sucked into Lu Mei's body. All of this happened in the blink of an eye. The moment Wang Lin looked at Lu Mei, Mei Ji collapsed. In that instant, a torrential pink mist poured out of every pore on Lu Mei's body. Lu Mei's clothes immediately dissipated and turned to dust. What appeared before Wang Lin was an extremely beautiful, mesmerizing body. Wang Lin's body didn't have time to teleport away as the pink mist spread out. He quickly retreated. At the same time, he waved his right hand and a gust of wind filled with celestial spiritual force blew toward the pink mist. However, no matter how fast he retreated, the pink mist didn't stop at all. It was as if it existed in the void and wasn't affected by the wind at all. The speed at which it spread was too fast. As Wang Lin retreated, some of the pink mist entered his body through his pores. However, there wasn't much pink mist that entered his body. Wang Lin circulated his celestial spiritual force to suppress it. His expression was gloomy as he quickly retreated to avoid the pink mist. This pink mist isn't a spell, it's formed by a domain, so spells are useless against it. Wang Lin's expression was gloomy as he looked at the pink mist in the valley. A beautiful figure walked out from the mist and gradually revealed her face. Lu Mei's originally white and flawless skin was now filled with the color of a rose. Her eyes, in particular, occasionally revealed a ruthless expression and occasionally flickered with a lustful light. Her expression was filled with a painful struggle. At that moment, the mercilessness in Lu Mei's eyes disappeared and was replaced by lust. A beautiful smile appeared on her face as she pointed at the air with her right hand. Instantly, the pink mist around her was released and spread at an unimaginable speed. This spread was like a shockwave that contained a powerful force. It was as if everything was collapsing. The speed at which the pink mist spread was much faster than what Wang Lin could do. In the blink of an eye, the surrounding tens of thousands of kilometers had turned into a pink world. The peaks of the mountain range were covered by the pink mist, giving off the illusion of a dream. Wang Lin was not far from Lu Mei. He was at the center of the pink mist. If he held his breath and circulated his domain, he would barely be able to avoid it. However, when Wang Lin retreated, there was already a trace of pink mist in his body. although it had been suppressed, and he only needed to find a place to cultivate for the time it takes an incense stick to burn. He didn't have that time. As the pink mist surrounded him, the pink mist inside his body broke through the suppression and spread throughout his body. This caused Wang Lin to lose his mind for the first time. Liu Mei's dry illusion emotionless Tao had reached the mid-stage of soul transformation. The 1,000 illusions were actually 999 illusions, and each illusion represented a life of Liu Mei's. Just like Liu Mei in the Tian Dao sect, each illusion was only one of her real body's illusions. Liu Mei had experienced 999 of these illusions. She was only one illusion away from reaching the peak of the late stage of soul transformation. As long as she had enough celestial jades and the celestial spiritual energy in her body reached a critical point, she would be able to take the final step toward the ascended stage. One step would lead to death, and one step would lead to the ascended stage. Meiji's appearance was a severe test for Liu Mei. If it wasn't for the help of the third ancestor, Liu Mei would have been possessed by Meiji and become a puppet that only knew how to enjoy the flesh. This was why, in her eyes, Wang Lin was despicable. The unintentional help of the third ancestor forced Meiji to collapse and fuse with her. As a result, her life became Liu Mei's 1,000th illusion. At this moment, her domain was far stronger than Wang Lin's early-stage soul transformation life and death domain. He naturally couldn't resist it. The pink mist spread out for tens of thousands of kilometers and gradually closed in on the valley. This gathering was finally completed on the second day. However, the pink fog within the valley did not disappear. Occasionally, a woman's somewhat pained moan would be emitted from within the fog. However, her voice was filled with a beautiful feeling. It was just like the soft melody of a fairy, causing one's heart to be moved upon hearing it, causing one's heart to surge. After an unknown amount of time, the pink mist gradually thinned, revealing a woman lying on the edge of the altar. Her eyes gradually became clear. There was a shock wave from a teleportation on the altar. It was clear that someone had just teleported away. A moment later, all the pink mist dissipated and the valley returned to its original color. The woman sat up and frowned. She reached out with her right hand, and a bag of holding flew into her hand. There was a flash of white light, and the woman's naked body was hidden under a white robe. She stood up, looked down at the red spots on the altar, and began to ponder. I didn't expect the last illusion of the 1,000 illusion merciless Tao to be this illusion. Once this illusion appears, the domain immediately becomes the dry illusion merciless Tao. All of this seems like a dream, yet it's so real. I never imagined that the final illusion of my willow brow's 1,000 illusion heartless Tao would be obtained in such a manner. Master wanted me to leave behind my figure in his Tao heart. But unfortunately, Master never imagined that my final illusion would contain his aura. Liu Mei's eyebrows furrowed as she looked into the distance and let out a sigh. This sigh revealed a complicated feeling. Her heart was at a loss. All of this had exceeded her expectations. Inside Rosefinch's tomb, in a wasteland, Wang Lin's figure appeared. After he appeared, he looked at the sky with a complicated gaze. When he was being absorbed by the pink mist, he felt like he was in a dream. When he woke up, he saw the woman below him. At that moment, his emotions were in turmoil. I still have some matters to attend to, so I'll leave Liu Mei's matter aside. It's useless to overthink it, sigh. Wang Lin let out a sigh and touched his forehead. The heaven-defying orb was there. There, Li Muin's nascent soul was slowly being nourished and gradually recovering. One day, she would awaken. Wang Lin pondered for a moment, before he disappeared into the distance. The interior of Rosefinch's tomb was different from what Situ Nan had told him. According to Situ Nan, the interior of Rosefinch's tomb wasn't big, and there was a spiritual mountain at the center. At the center of the mountain was the legacy of the first Rosefinch's son, the Rosefinch's seal, which was also whereby Xiao's corpse was located. Every generation of Rosefinch would have to cultivate here for a few months to receive the legacy of Rosefinch's seal. Wang Lin's divine sense spread out and scanned the area. This place was too big for him to see, but when he scanned the area, he found many powerful auras. After these auras detected Wang Lin's divine sense, they immediately appeared as if they were provoking him. Wang Lin's heart trembled. These auras were all made from soul pieces. It was clear that not only were there more soul pieces inside Rosefinch's tomb, they were also stronger. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. After determining the direction, he quickly flew off into the distance. His first goal was to find the spiritual mountain, which was the center of this place. He knew that he didn't have much time. Once the cultivation planet crystal collapses, he would have to use Situ Nan's method to save his life. The cultivation planet crystal was very tyrannical. It was given to rank 6 cultivation countries by the Cultivation Alliance. Only when a cultivator reaches the ascendant stage can they experience the feeling of reaching the ascendant stage and have the chance to withdraw their soul piece from the cultivation planet crystal. However, every generation of Rosefinch's son couldn't withdraw their soul piece. If they did, they would lose the right to use the Rosefinch's seal. In a way, they would lose the title of Rosefinch's son. Chapter 451. However, not all ascendant cultivators can succeed. The chance is only 50%. If a rank 5 cultivation country can reach the ascendant stage, or if a rank 6 cultivation country can reach the ascendant stage, then they can take the soul pieces of cultivator and leave the cultivation planet without any suspense. Yangtze's soul piece wasn't successfully taken out. In fact, no one on Shizuku, including the Forsaken Immortal clan, had their soul piece taken out. The main reason for this was because the cultivation planet crystal was sealed by Situ Nan. Although the sealed cultivation planet crystal prevented Rosefinch's son from controlling Shizuku, it also prevented anyone from taking out their soul piece when they were about to reach the ascended stage. On some of the more powerful rank 7 or 8 cultivation planets, aside from the chance to take out their soul piece when they are about to reach the ascendant stage, some of the more powerful sects that are as big as a rank 6 cultivation planet have their own ways to avoid the restriction of the cultivation planet crystal. If it wasn't for this, then there wouldn't be any wars or disputes in the Cultivation Alliance. At this moment, there was a giant planet in the distance. From above, one could see countless rays of sword energy flying around the planet. They weren't fighting, but traveling. This cultivation planet was simply too big. It was dozens of times the size of Shizuku, and the number of mortals on it far exceeded the number of mortals on Shizuku. As a result, there were naturally a lot more cultivators on the planet. Around this giant cultivation planet were 5 smaller planets. They surrounded the main planet, and there were also many cultivators on them. There were even smaller planets scattered around the main planet, and each of them was protected by a large formation. The largest planet was planet Tianyun. The surrounding 5 smaller planets were subsidiary planets of the rank 7 cultivation planet Tianyun. As for the smaller star mansions, they were created by powerful old monsters. Without an invitation from the master, outsiders were not allowed to enter. Compared to it, planet Shizuku was simply too insignificant. It was simply too small. There were many sects on planet Tianyun, but the most prominent one was the Heavenly Fate sect. The Heavenly Fate sect believed that all fate in the world was predetermined. It couldn't be forced or avoided. This principle gave the sect a sense of celestial dust. The person who set this principle was someone that almost all cultivators on planet Tianyun respected. His name was Tian Yunzi. At this moment, inside the Heavenly Fate sect, Tian Yunzi opened his eyes. He had a kind expression, and his white hair flowed in the wind. However, he didn't look old at all. Instead, he gave off a sense of transcendence. His eyes were even brighter than some people in their prime. There wasn't a hint of death aura on his body, only a powerful sense of vitality. He was inside the Heavenly Fate sect's Celestial Fate Pavilion. At this moment, his eyes revealed a mysterious light, and he muttered to himself, "Back then, when I went to visit an old friend, I passed by a half-abandoned cultivation planet and met a child. When he was at the soul formation stage, he comprehended the life and death cycle of the reincarnation cycle and wanted to trace the origin of the reincarnation cycle. Not many people can do this, so the old man took him in as an honorary disciple for 100 years. Today, I suddenly realized something. I'm afraid this child will arrive soon. I wonder what his current cultivation level is. If he isn't at the late stage of soul formation, then even if he comes, he will disappoint me. Tian Yunzi pondered a bit before shaking his head and closing his eyes once more. Inside Rosefinch's tomb, Wang Lin slowed down and didn't spread his divine sense too far. There were a lot of life spirit creatures here, and some of them were even troublesome for Wang Lin to deal with. If he didn't use the 1 billion soul flag, he wouldn't be able to deal with them. Wang Lin was very careful along the way. Once he sensed danger, he would immediately turn around and go around it. As a result, his journey immediately slowed down. On this day, Wang Lin could see 2 sky-piercing mountains. There was a small winding path between the mountains, and the end couldn't be seen. Surrounding the mountain peak were dense forests and mountain streams. Wang Lin stood at the foot of the mountain and pondered for a while. His eyes lit up. He had been walking inside Rosefinch's tomb for a few days. After some observation, if he followed this path, he would be able to enter the center of the tomb. However, along the way, Wang Lin clearly felt that the deeper he went, the more life spirit creatures there were. There were many powerful ones, and they were far from what Wang Lin could provoke. After pondering for a moment, Wang Lin moved and walked toward the winding path between the 2 mountains. With every step he took, he was on guard, constantly observing his surroundings. Life spirit creatures were unpredictable and could transform into any form. If he was the slightest bit careless, he would be attacked. As he walked along the path, Wang Lin looked at the mountain walls on both sides. He saw that there were wet spots on them. The surface was extremely smooth, and there were even some places where water was dripping. After walking a few hundred feet, Wang Lin's expression suddenly changed, and he thought that something was wrong. He carefully looked at the mountain walls on both sides, and his eyes flickered. If this place was wet all year round, there would definitely be some moss-like plants growing. After all, along the way, Rosefinch's tomb was no different from the outside world. But here, the humidity seems to have just appeared. Wang Lin's right index finger touched the rock wall beside him like lightning. With a flash of spirit light, it immediately sank into the rock, forming a small hole that was a foot deep. Half a foot of the hole was wet, but the other half was dry. Wang Lin did not stop and immediately retreated. In the blink of an eye, he had retreated from the winding path. The moment he left, all the wet water stains on the rock walls under the 2 mountains immediately seeped out of the rocks. Drops of crystal clear water droplets floated in the air of the winding path like crystals. These water droplets were densely packed, and there were probably no less than hundreds of thousands of them. Each one represented a life spirit. In front of Wang Lin, these water droplets suddenly moved and gathered together, forming a human-shaped object. Its body squirmed strangely and gradually solidified. Finally, it turned into a woman. This woman's appearance was ordinary, but there was a strange aura around her. After appearing, she stared coldly at Wang Lin and slowly said, "You can't go in." Wang Lin slowly retreated. If there was a life spirit that he didn't want to provoke the most, it would be a spiritual being formed by a water life spirit. This kind of spiritual being was the most difficult to deal with among all spiritual beings. Although the spiritual being in front of him only had the strength of soul formation cultivator, it was still very difficult to deal with. Water existed between heaven and earth. It could be divided or dispersed. Even if it was sealed, it was difficult to completely cover it. A few days ago, Wang Lin encountered a water spiritual being. It was extremely difficult to deal with it, so he had to give up and take a detour. Therefore, after sensing that there might be a water life spirit here, Wang Lin did not hesitate to retreat. As he retreated, Wang Lin's divine sense swept the depths of the valley in front of him. Before, he was worried that it would cause some unnecessary trouble, so he didn't spread his divine sense too much. But now, since the water life spirit had appeared, he immediately swept the area with his divine sense. Then, Wang Lin's expression changed. In the depths, he saw a person. This person was an acquaintance. He was fighting with a rather powerful water life spirit. Between the two of them, this person had the upper hand. However, after Wang Lin saw the water life spirit fighting with this person, he didn't know why, but he felt as if his mind was connected. This feeling was not deep, but it existed clearly. Wang Lin's heart skipped a beat, and he retreated. When the woman formed by the water life spirit saw Wang Lin retreat, she immediately turned into water droplets and rushed into the depths of the valley. Wang Lin stood outside the valley and pondered for a while. No, why does the water life spirit in the depths of the valley give me such a strange feeling? I don't have a water spirit root, so my life spirit can't be a water life spirit. This is strange. Wang Lin frowned slightly. He paced outside the valley for a while and was about to leave. Suddenly, his expression changed, and he turned back. At this moment, he suddenly felt a stabbing pain in his heart. It was as if in the depths of the valley, there was a life spirit that was weakly calling out to him. Wan Air. Wang Lin's expression changed. He understood that Wan Air was in the heaven-defying bead, and the heaven-defying bead existed in Wang Lin's yuan shun between his eyebrows. In this way, he could naturally sense Li Muan's life spirit. Wang Lin's eyes became cold. This time, without any hesitation, he turned into a ray of light and charged into the depths of the valley. Just as his body charged into the valley, the woman formed by the water life spirit appeared and blocked in front of Wang Lin. She raised her right hand, and a large amount of water vapor filled the entire winding path. Wang Lin's eyes became cold. Without a word, he touched his bag of holding and took out the celestial sword. He threw it forward and let out a roar. His left hand immediately pressed between his eyebrows. At this moment, Wang Lin's body suddenly stopped, and he closed his eyes. His origin soul suddenly flew out from the top of his head and turned into a giant soul spirit. It moved several times faster than lightning and chased after the celestial sword. In almost the blink of an eye, Wang Lin's origin soul rushed into the body of the woman formed by the water life spirit. At the same time, the celestial sword pierced through the woman's chest. The woman let out a miserable groan, and her life spirit immediately collapsed. However, Wang Lin's origin soul had already entered her body. The moment the life spirit collapsed, his origin soul split into 2, then 4, then 8. At an extremely fast speed, it split into countless pieces and entered each life spirit. At the same time, a roar came from Wang Lin's origin soul. Seal. Suddenly, restrictions spread out from Wang Lin's origin soul. In the blink of an eye, all the water droplets were sealed. After doing all of this, he immediately flew out from the water droplets and quickly entered the body that was thrown forward. Chapter 452. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and his origin soul returned to his sheath. He waved his hand, and the celestial sword flew toward him. Holding the celestial sword in his hand, he quickly left this place and headed toward the depths of the valley. Shortly after Wang Lin left, a series of popping sounds came from the sealed water droplets. All of the water droplets turned into mist and reformed into the woman's figure once more. A seal could only temporarily imprison a water life form. It couldn't completely seal it. The woman's eyes revealed a vicious gaze. She turned into mist again and charged toward the depths of the valley. Wang Lin's speed was very fast. In just a few flashes, he arrived at the depths of the valley. There was a half-naked, hunchbacked old man with a gloomy expression. Before him were countless glowing tattoos. These tattoos formed a large circle, and inside the circle was a ball of water made of water. This ball of water seemed to be boiling. There was a plant with 8 leaves on the old man's forehead. It extended in a demonic manner, and a powerful runic energy spread arrogantly from his body. The hunchbacked old man said, "The old man can't kill you, but he can refine your life forms. You will need time to solve your doubts, so he won't have time to chase after the old man." This old man was the one who chased Wang Lin into the spatial rift in the immortal graveyard. He used the ancestral tattoo to communicate with the Forsaken Immortal clan and was saved by them. His anger toward Wang Lin caused him to go on a killing spree when the Forsaken Immortal clan arrived. Out of all the 8-leaf shamans, he had killed the most people. Wang Lin's appearance startled the old man. When he was fighting the water-type life form, he was afraid that if he wasn't careful, he would have lost. He could only focus on the battle, and Wang Lin's cultivation level was much higher than before. He had already reached the early stage of soul transformation. That was why the old man didn't notice Wang Lin. "It's you." When the old man saw Wang Lin, a cold light appeared in his eyes. He raised his head to the sky and laughed. His right hand grasped the rune in front of him. Suddenly, a rune flew out from the water life spirit and turned into a black light that sped towards Wang Lin. Wang Lin grunted coldly. After he arrived here, he didn't stop at all. At practically the instant the hunchbacked old man noticed him, his figure transformed into an afterimage that suddenly appeared beside the circle of symbols that trapped the water life soul, and then he raised the immortal sword in his hand and suddenly slashed down. With a loud bang, the rune circle trapping the water life spirit began to crack, and the runes collapsed one by one. The hunchbacked old man roared. His body moved, turning into a beam of light as he charged at Wang Lin. He pressed his hand forward, and an ancient rune appeared on his palm, emitting a demonic glow. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. Without a word, his right hand reached out, and the 1 billion soul flag appeared in his hand. The moment this 30-foot-long soul flag appeared, it would give off a sense of awe even before it appeared. The hunchbacked old man's charge couldn't help but pause. His heart trembled. He vaguely recognized this flag, and he couldn't help but be shocked. Wang Lin shook the 1 billion soul flag in his hand. Suddenly, waves of ghostly wails came out. One by one, the souls charged out, especially the golden purple Qilin. After it appeared, it let out a roar that shook the heavens and pierced through the earth. After it appeared, it opened its bloody mouth and pounced at the hunchbacked old man. Behind the Qilin, more than 10 soul transformation primary souls appeared one by one. Suddenly, the entire valley was surrounded by these souls, and they all charged at the hunchbacked old man. The hunchbacked old man cursed in his heart. Without any hesitation, he quickly retreated. If there were only 1 or 2 soul transformation soul fragments, he wouldn't be afraid. After all, soul fragments were soul fragments, and they couldn't compare to real cultivators. Even if there were 3 to 5 soul transformation soul fragments, he could still escape. Even in a battle, he was confident that he could end in a draw. However, there were too many soul transformation soul fragments, and with his cultivation level, he couldn't fight them all. The golden purple Qilin posed an even greater threat to him. The moment he saw the beast, he felt a sense of shock. Also, aside from these, there were hundreds of millions of normal soul fragments. How could he dare to resist? He could only quickly retreat. He never would have thought that in less than 100 years, this junior that he had chased like a stray dog would not only reach the early stage of soul transformation, but also possess the legendary 1 billion soul flag that even the Forsaken Immortal clan feared. The hunchbacked old man could even feel that a large portion of these normal soul fragments contained the aura of the Forsaken Immortal clan. These must be the Forsaken Immortal clan members that were captured by the soul refinement technique. The moment the hunchbacked old man retreated, the woman that was chasing Wang Lin appeared. When she saw what was happening in the valley, her eyes lit up. She turned into a mist of water and silently pounced at the hunchbacked old man. Wang Lin didn't have time to deal with the hunchbacked old man. After releasing the 1 billion soul flag, the celestial sword in his hand continued to chop down on the tattoos. As the tattoos rumbled, even more cracks appeared on the tattoos, trapping the water-type soul fragment. The water life soul fey inside immediately transformed from a ball of water back into a human form. It was now a woman. The moment Wang Lin saw this woman, his calm heart trembled. This woman's appearance was somewhat similar to Lim Yuan's. As Wang Lin swung the sword one last time, the circle of tattoos collapsed. The woman inside let out a charming smile as her body turned into a cloud of water mist and quickly charged out of the circle. Wang Lin had noticed this a long time ago, so how could he let her escape? However, this woman's cultivation level was much higher than the water-type soul fragment that blocked his way. Her cultivation level was almost the same as a mid-stage soul transformation cultivator's cultivation level. Adding on the fact that she was immortal, even the hunchbacked old man couldn't do anything but try to trap her. The moment the woman that looked like Li Muan walked out, Wang Lin took a deep breath. With a thought, the countless soul fragments gathered together. Aside from the ones that were chasing the hunchbacked old man, the rest were all gathered here. A powerful pressure suddenly filled the area. The woman's expression was normal as she looked around. Finally, her gaze landed on Wang Lin. She smiled and said, "You saved me, but now you want to trap me. What is the meaning of this?" Wang Lin's expression was cold as he calmly said, "Do you want to live or die?" The woman immediately smiled sweetly and said, "No one can kill me here. Even if they trap me, I will be able to escape after spending a bit of time." Wang Lin's eyes were cold as he softly said, "Soul fragments, fuse." As soon as the word left his mouth, the countless souls in the surroundings began to fuse with each other in a frenzy, merging with the main soul at an extremely fast speed. In the blink of an eye, all the soul fragments disappeared, leaving behind only 6 primary souls. Each of them gave off an aura far stronger than a late-stage soul transformation cultivator, but not the aura of an ascendant cultivator. The 6 primary souls surrounded the woman. Their eyes were cold and revealed a hint of coldness. Wang Lin shouted, "Destroy." With one word, the 6 primary souls began to move. Each of them used a spell to attack the woman. The woman let out a charming smile. Then her body turned into a cloud of water mist and scattered. This was what Wang Lin was waiting for. Only when the woman's body turned into water or mist would he be able to find Li Muan's soul fragment. However, just as Wang Lin and the 6 primary souls left, the entire valley suddenly trembled. This tremble came from the ground. Not only this place, but the entire Rosefinch's tomb, both inside and outside. All the mountains were shaking. This was the entire Rosefinch's tomb shaking. As the shaking became more intense, the sky began to crack. It was as if there were countless giant hands tearing the sky apart. Suddenly, numerous spatial cracks appeared, and the cold wind that blew out from them could instantly freeze a person's body. The spatial cracks here were not like those in the outside world. Even if one entered one, as long as one's cultivation reached a certain level, one would not die. This place was different. The spatial cracks here only looked the same, but in reality, they weren't spatial cracks. They were called dimensional cracks. These dimensional cracks were created by the mysterious power of the cultivation planet crystal. Even if it was a soul transformation cultivator, if they entered, their soul would immediately be destroyed. There were no exceptions. When the cultivation planet heart shattered, the collapse of the cultivation planet crystal began. Inside Rosefinch's tomb, the ground cracked and collapsed everywhere. Countless cultivators that entered died one after another. Even many of their soul fragments died in the face of this disaster. The entire Rosefinch's tomb was shrouded in a thick, deathly aura. The valley that Wang Lin was in also couldn't escape. The ground cracked and turned into nothingness. Large amounts of dimensional cracks appeared and devoured everything around them. Wang Lin immediately took out the 1 billion souls soul flag to recall all the souls and quickly left. As for the old man's life and death, Wang Lin couldn't care less. His gaze was locked onto the woman that looked like Li Muan. At this moment, the woman was in a trance and revealed an expression of fear that she had never shown before. Her body was slowly collapsing. Finally, with a bang, her entire body turned into countless water droplets. These water droplets collapsed one by one. This was true death. Wang Lin's figure was like lightning as he moved through the dimensional cracks. He arrived in front of the collapsing water droplets and reached out with his right hand. The moment he touched this water droplet, Wang Lin felt like he was touching Li Muan. Chapter 453. After grabbing the water droplets, he quickly retreated, but a dimensional crack suddenly appeared in front of him. With a tearing sound, a large part of Wang Lin's clothes disappeared as if they were swallowed by an invisible mouth. Cold sweat appeared on Wang Lin's forehead as he finally rushed out of the valley. This tremor only lasted for 10 breaths of time. After 10 breaths of time, the entire Shizuka tomb had changed beyond recognition. Countless cracks appeared on the ground, and there were countless cracks in the sky. There were even many places that could be destroyed with just a burst of spirit force. Anyone who was inside would die along with them. At this moment, the danger level of the Rosefinch's tomb was even greater. The collapse of the cultivation planet Crystal didn't happen in an instant. It was gradually collapsing. All of this was done on purpose by Rosefinch's son. This was his madness before his death, a game he played with Young Z. After the shaking stopped, the valley that Wang Lin was in was razed to the ground. Everything disappeared like smoke, as if everything that had happened was just a dream. A gentle breeze blew away the cold sweat on Wang Lin's forehead. A chill appeared in his heart as he looked down at the ruins below him. There were arc-shaped cracks that would occasionally open and occasionally close. Holding Li Muan's life soul in his hand, Wang Lin pressed it against his forehead and entered the heaven-defying bead space. He took a deep breath, moved his body, and slowly flew into the distance. While flying, Wang Lin's eyes suddenly lit up. His gaze landed on a mountain range that had mostly collapsed. Over there was a hunchbacked old man lying on top of a boulder. Only half of his body remained. His eyes were dim, and a weak origin soul was struggling to escape from his body. During the 10 breaths of time, a dimensional crack suddenly appeared. Not only did he lose half of his body, but he also lost his origin soul. The moment Wang Lin's gaze landed on the old man's origin soul immediately noticed it. His face became anxious as he came out of his body and was about to escape. Wang Lin's eyes became cold. He let out a cold snort and immediately chased. The hunchbacked old man's origin soul was very weak. As he was escaping, there was a flash of ghostly light and an arc-shaped crack appeared before him. The old man let out a miserable scream. He wanted to retreat, but it was too late. His origin soul was devoured by the dimensional crack. When the dimensional crack disappeared, the hunchbacked old man's origin soul disappeared without a trace. Wang Lin immediately stopped. After pondering for a bit, he looked into the distance. This Rosefinch's tomb had become very dangerous. If he was a bit careless, he would lose his life. Wang Lin couldn't help but hesitate. A moment later, Wang Lin let out a sigh and flew into the distance. Shizuku, Sea of Devils. The Sea of Devils was one of the first places to be attacked by the Forsaken Immortal Clan. After all, it was very close to the Forsaken Immortal Clan. Adding on the fact that the fog that hadn't dissipated for tens of thousands of years had disappeared, the Sea of Devils had lost its natural barrier and was attacked by the other cultivation countries. In the end, the Sea of Devils was reduced to a vassal state. There was a person standing outside the chaotic broken stars in the Sea of Devils. This person was surrounded by a deathly aura, making it impossible to see his face. There were countless skeletons flashing around him, making it look like a forest of skeletons. He looked at the chaotic broken stars and revealed a look of hesitation. That sliver of divine retribution wasn't summoned by Shang-Ji. It was just a junior refining an ancient treasure. In these hundreds of years, the old man has traveled all over Shizuku and hasn't found a single ancient cultivator. I'm really hungry now. Only here can I smell the scent of an ancient cultivator. Unfortunately, this place is too dangerous. Should I go or not? This person pondered a bit. Then his eyes lit up and he shook his head. Forget it. I can't throw away my life for the sake of food. The old man's injuries have recovered a bit, so it is time to leave Shizuku. If I am found by Situnan, I won't be able to beat him in my current state. This person's eyes became cold, and he muttered to himself, I wonder how Sword Saint Ling Tianho's old friend is doing on planet Tianyuan. I might be able to ask him to help me deal with Situ Nan and find out the location of that mysterious bead. Just at this moment, his eyes suddenly lit up. He looked into the distance and calmly said, "Back then, you liked to hide. Pajuan, long time no see." A burst of hoarse laughter came from the void. Shortly after, the sky darkened and a large amount of sea water appeared in the sky. It carried a powerful aura as it roared toward the Sea of Devils. Above the waves, a man in a blue robe stepped on the waves and walked over step by step. There was a golden pattern embroidered on this person's robe. It looked very mysterious. "Greedy Wolf, do you also have designs on this place?" This man's appearance was ordinary, but there was a hint of viciousness in his eyes. The person surrounded by death aura let out a snort and said, "The old man is annoyed just by looking at you. Since you like this place, then go in. The old man is leaving." With that, his body flickered and disappeared. He turned into a ray of black light that pierced through the sky and disappeared into the distance. The man above the sea revealed a pondering expression. His body moved, and he landed outside of the chaotic broken stars. The seawater under his feet immediately condensed into a dark blue crystal. After he landed, he blew an incense stick into his mouth. Strange, this greedy wolf never goes to places without treasures. Wherever he goes, there must be treasures. When I came to Shizuku 10,000 years ago, he had already stayed here for an unknown amount of time. Although he said it was to heal, it was still suspicious. Could it really be because of this place? The man pondered a bit. Then his body moved, and he walked into the chaotic broken stars. In the depths of the land of the lucky god, there was a man with messy, blood-red hair on top of the giant stone pillar. He suddenly raised his head that had been hanging down. His messy hair revealed a ferocious gaze. His blood-red eyes caused all living beings to feel fear when they looked at them. A cruel smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. "Another one has come. The day I taught son, escape is very close, very close. Wang Lin, you have to keep my inheritance of knowledge safe and wait for me to collect it. Without my inheritance of power, it's useless for you to just have your memories. Furthermore, your inheritance of knowledge is not complete. There is still a memory inheritance crystal in my hands. After so many years, I searched the entire land of the ancient god and paid a great price to finally find the last memory inheritance crystal. After fusing with it, I remembered a lot of things. Over the years, I can often feel a mysterious power growing inside this planet. It's similar to the growth of my ancient god clan's youngest child. This power is what you cultivators call the cultivation planet crystal. Through this crystal, my seal can be broken, and I can use the soul swap technique to leave this place. All of this is thanks to 2C. Back then, he chose this place to split his divine sense, causing some of the aboriginals here to worship him as a god. This matter was recorded in the last memory inheritance crystal. I also know that 2C gave him a response and told them to create a place to worship the ancient god. Although tens of thousands of years have passed and the aboriginals are all dead, the place where the Forsaken Immortal clan is hiding is the last place for them to worship the ancient god. I can use some of my spells there. That junior of the Forsaken Immortal clan is sleeping there. In order to obtain the cultivation planet crystal, I paid a great price to help that junior go from the 11-leaf stage to the 12-leaf stage. This allowed his entire clan to break out of their seal and slaughter the cultivators here. All of this is going according to my plan. The location of the cultivation planet crystal has finally been opened. Wang Lin, my messenger has met you again. You have changed a lot, but how could I, Tuo-san, ever forget you? Your appearance and your divine sense have been engraved in my heart. No matter where you go, I will be able to find you. Tuo-san threw his head back and laughed uproariously. His laughter echoed throughout the entire sea of blood, causing the waves within the sea of blood to surge, creating huge waves that swept in all directions. The red light in his eyes was several times more intense than the sea of blood. Wang Lin, the day I took son, escape is near. After obtaining your inheritance, I will become an ancient god, an 8-star auspicious god. At that time, who among this star system will be my match? As Sun laughed like crazy. Squeaking sounds came from the sea of blood. Two little monkeys popped their heads out of the sea of blood and jumped next to Tua's senator. The two little monkeys' eyes released a demonic red glow. At this moment, inside Rosefinch's tomb, the eyes of the old man who had left behind that eerie smile revealed a red glow. On his shoulder was a little monkey, and the red glow in its eyes became even brighter. The little monkey let out a squeak. The red glow in the old man's eyes disappeared, and he looked into the distance. The red glow in his eyes became even brighter. He's here. The old man's body moved. Just as he was about to take a step forward, the little monkey on his shoulder let out a roar. The old man's footsteps paused. After pondering for a bit, he turned around and left. His target was the center of Rosefinch's tomb. As the old man ran, the little monkey looked back with a red glow in its eyes. This old man was very fast. It was as if he could predict the dimensional rifts that appeared before him and easily pass through them. Although he was fast, he didn't encounter any danger. Not long after the old man left, a ray of light pierced through the sky and arrived. Wang Lin frowned as he looked in the direction the old man disappeared to and began to ponder. Chapter 454. Wang Lin pondered a bit. Then he got up and flew into the distance. Along the way, he was very careful and spread out his divine sense. The dimensional gap that appeared out of nowhere gave him a headache. With it around, he couldn't increase his speed, so he could only slowly move forward. 2 days later, Wang Lin flew past many places that had turned into nothingness. In front of him was a large basin that was filled with a piercing aura that pierced the sky like sharp swords. He spread out his divine sense and found that there were at least tens of thousands of basins. They were so densely packed that he couldn't see the end of them. Inside each basin, there was a sword inserted deep into the ground. Although only half of the sword was exposed, the sword energy was very heavy. As soon as he entered, Wang Lin could clearly feel the dense sword energy. Metal soul, Wang Lin pondered. He had been inside Rosefinch's tomb for a long time. Everything inside the tomb was very different from what Situnan said. Wang Lin wasn't a slow person, so he already had his own analysis of what was happening. I'm afraid this Rosefinch's tomb is the cultivation planet crystal. Although I'm inside Rosefinch's tomb, I'm also inside the cultivation planet crystal. That's why there are so many life souls. That's why when the cultivation planet crystal collapses, those strange cracks appeared. These cracks are the collapse of the cultivation planet crystal. Wang Lin's expression was gloomy as he looked at the basin in front of him. This was only his speculation and analysis, so he couldn't be sure. Therefore, he needed to go to the center of the basin to see if there was a spirit mountain there. If there was, then his speculation was wrong. If there wasn't, then Wang Lin was sure that this place was the cultivation planet crystal. Wang Lin pondered a bit. After he spread out his divine sense, his heart suddenly trembled. At the center of the basin, there was a large basin. The edge of the basin was covered by a layer of ice that emitted a crystal light. The inside of the basin was dark blue, and it was impossible to see what was inside. However, the sword chi in this place was the heaviest. It was as if it could pierce through the heavens and the earth, emitting a disdainful aura. This aura was absolutely not something that an ordinary flying sword could emit. This aura wasn't unfamiliar to Wang Lin because he'd once seen something that was similar to this with his own 2 eyes in the immortal dimension. How could there be such a thing in this place? Wang Lin's eyes flashed. The basin in front of him was huge, and it would take too much time to go around it. Furthermore, there were bound to be other life spirits in the surroundings, so there was no difference in the degree of danger. In addition, the thing in the center of the basin gave him a sense of familiarity. This feeling was not of a particular life soul, but a general familiarity. After pondering for a while, Wang Lin walked step by step into the world of the basin. However, when he had walked 100 feet, the nearest basin in the distance suddenly emitted a thick chill. The sword that was stuck deep in the basin immediately rose from the ground and whistled out. This was an extremely ordinary white ladle sword. It was 3 feet long, 2 fingers thick, and its entire body was silvery white. The tip of the sword was pointed at Wang Lin, emitting a buzzing sound. Scram! A divine sense came from within the sword hum. This divine sense was extremely domineering and filled with pride. A life spirit formed by a metal life soul. I didn't expect it to be similar to a sword soul. Wang Lin's eyes flashed when he sensed the divine sense from the sword. The sword intent coming from the basin in the center of this place was extremely similar to the celestial swords he'd seen in the immortal dimension. He touched his bag of holding, and the celestial sword appeared in his hand. The moment the celestial sword appeared, the arrogant sword immediately dimmed like a firefly under the bright moon. Su Ligua, Wang Lin softly shouted. A black mist came out from the celestial sword, and Su Ligua's figure appeared. As soon as he appeared, his eyes immediately turned to stare at the arrogant sword. He chuckled and said, "Grandson, although your grandpa, Su became a sword soul halfway." But before he finished speaking, the arrogant sword immediately trembled and retreated without any hesitation. This scene caused Su Ligua to be startled, but he immediately became arrogant and said, "Run? Did your grandpa, Su, let you run?" With that, his body moved, and he quickly chased after Su Ligua with the celestial sword. A sword soul naturally needs a sword soul to restrain it. Wang Lin softly said as he raised his foot and walked forward. Su Ligua opened a path in front of Wang Lin. Wherever he went, all the swords in the basin immediately rushed out. When they saw Su Ligua, they immediately retreated. This scene was extremely strange. It was as if all the swords were afraid of Su Ligua. Wang Lin's eyes flickered as he calmly looked at this scene and calmly stepped forward. Su Ligua was extremely excited at this moment. He repeatedly roared and flew here and there with the celestial sword. Occasionally, he would let out a loud roar. One by one, the celestial sword rose from the ground and flew toward the center of the basin. Once there, the celestial sword immediately stopped and floated in the air, emitting a dense sword intent and cold glint. Wang Lin followed behind Su Ligua and quickly flew toward the center of the basin. There weren't many dimensional rifts here. Along the way, Wang Lin only encountered 3. It could be seen that this was one of the few places that weren't too affected by the collapse of the cultivation planet crystal. The deeper they went, the fewer dimensional rifts they encountered. Finally, Wang Lin used his full speed and flew like a meteor toward the center of the basin. Several hours later, the huge basin in the center was shaking. Looking from afar, there were countless celestial sword souls floating in the sky above the basin, emitting waves of sword hums. Before they even got close, Wang Lin could already feel the shocking sword aura inside. Su Ligua was slowed down and didn't dare to move forward. He looked at Wang Lin and said, "Master, you see, I didn't slack off along the way and helped you chase all the celestial sword souls here. Now that there's nothing for me to do, why don't I return to the sword first and come out after you destroy all the celestial sword souls?" Su Ligua quickly returned to the celestial sword. However, when his body was halfway back, Wang Lin grabbed the celestial sword and threw it toward the basin full of celestial sword souls. Su Ligua screamed and immediately returned to the celestial sword. The celestial sword flashed and was about to escape. "If you can't break this place for me, then there's no point in keeping you alive." Wang Lin's cold voice echoed in Su Ligua's heart. He secretly cursed Wang Lin, but he didn't dare to escape. He clenched his teeth and let out a roar as he charged toward the celestial sword souls. His roar came from the celestial sword, and it was a heaven-shaking sword hum. This sword hymn pierced through the 9 heavens, and it caused the treasured swords on the ground to immediately open up a path. At this moment, the dark blue fog on the ground began to churn rapidly, and at the same time, a crescent moon blade slowly flew out from the fog. Wang Lin revealed a trace of disappointment. When he felt the celestial aura, the first thing he thought of was riches. Although he didn't think it was possible, this feeling lingered. Unfortunately, the thing before him wasn't riches, but a crescent moon blade. Since ancient times, swords and blades were equally famous. However, swords had arrogance and blades had arrogance. If it was normal metal, then it would be fine. However, once it gained sentience and became a soul-like existence, it wouldn't be easy for it to fuse together. Not to mention the fact that it was worshipped by countless sword souls. This meant that this blade was not ordinary. However, no matter how extraordinary this item was, it was still made up of many fate's souls. As a result, it was impossible to obtain it. Even if he held it in his hand, once it left this place, it would lose the restriction of the cultivation planet crystal's mysterious power. It would immediately collapse and return to its origin. Wang Lin let out a sigh and was about to summon the celestial sword back. However, just as he was about to charge out, his eyes suddenly narrowed as he stared at the crescent moon blade. This isn't right. This blade soul isn't formed by a large amount of soul pieces. It is a single soul piece. Wang Lin took a deep breath. Ever since he entered the Vermilion Bird Tomb, he had seen many life spirit beasts. All of them were formed by the condensation of a large number of life spirits. None of them were formed by a single life spirit, but this saber soul was the only exception. The crescent moon blade flew out from the ground, and all of the surrounding swords let out sword hymns as if they were worshipping the emperor and scattered. Su Liguo was inside the celestial sword. When he saw the crescent moon blade, he immediately trembled. He was naturally timid, so when he saw the other sword souls react like this, he hesitated. He wanted to worship it, but he was afraid of Wang Lin. His trembling was transmitted to the celestial sword, causing it to tremble. The crescent moon blade flashed and appeared next to the celestial sword at an unimaginable speed. There was a crisp sound, and the celestial sword was pushed back several dozen feet. However, there were no cracks on it, and it was as good as new. Su Liguo let out a scream and flew toward Wang Lin without hesitation. Wang Lin frowned. He knew that Su Liguo was timid, but he didn't expect Su Liguo to run away without even daring to fight. Wang Lin waved his right hand. With a thought, the celestial sword flew into his hand. At this moment, the crescent moon blade quickly caught up. Wang Lin immediately retreated and swung the celestial sword. A ray of sword energy flew out and collided with the crescent moon blade. There was a bang, but there were no cracks on the crescent moon blade. Instead, it emitted a cold aura. At the same time, a divine sense message came out from the crescent moon blade. Leave its soul behind. You go. After the divine sense was transmitted, the scimitar trembled and immediately turned into a 30-meter-long scimitar. With a wave of the scimitar, a ray of light that seemed to be able to split the heavens, and earth came crashing down. Chapter 455. Wang Lin's eyes flashed. As he retreated, he raised the immortal sword in his hand to block. As the blade neared, there was a loud bang, and Wang Lin's body was thrown far away. He used this force to escape without any hesitation. The power of this curved blade was no weaker than a full force attack from a late-stage nascent soul cultivator. Without using the billion soul span, Wang Lin would not be able to match it. Along the way, Wang Lin's speed was extremely fast. He didn't go back the way he came, but in the opposite direction. He directly passed through the huge basin and sped towards the depths. Waves of divine sense came from the curved blade. Immediately, the rhymed treasure swords on the ground began to hum. One by one, they rushed out and chased after Wang Lin. Wang Lin's speed was extremely fast as he passed through many basins. Behind him, countless treasured swords chased after him in a frenzy. Among them, the curved saber would occasionally emit saber light as it whistled through the air. Wang Lin had long since put away the immortal sword. He used his full speed to escape. In front of Wang Lin, swords flew out from the basin, forming a pincer attack from the north and south. Wang Lin's eyes flickered as he made a grasping motion with his right hand. The 1 billion soul banner appeared in his hand. He shook it, and it wrapped around his body, transforming him into a plume of black smoke that twisted and flickered. His speed increased several times over. The treasured swords that were stabbing towards him missed their target. They immediately changed their direction and chased after him. At this moment, an endless number of treasured swords condensed behind Wang Lin. The monstrous sword light whistled between heaven and earth, and the cold air emitted by the treasured swords caused the surrounding temperature to suddenly drop, and there was even a hint of frost. At this moment, the only sound left in the world was the cry of the sword. The sound was world-shaking, whistling through the 9 provinces. It was as if the sky was about to collapse, as if the earth was about to tremble. The commotion was so great that almost all the cultivators within hundreds of thousands of kilometers noticed it. Many people flew over to see what was happening. Sword after sword, sword after sword, sword after sword, cold light, all of these gathered together, as if the incarnation of an ancient sword immortal. Sword chi lingered around, flashing wildly around Wang Lin's body. Wang Lin's body was wrapped by the honorable soul banner. With a sway of his body, he was like a wisp of smoke, twisting and moving forward. Even so, there were still a large number of sword rays falling on him, but they were all blocked by the honorable soul banner. Wang Lin would only draw his immortal sword to block the attack when the curved blade's radiance was about to reach him. This flight was extremely exciting, and it caused Wang Lin to be unable to help but recall the scene of him being pursued with the intent to kill when his cultivation was weak all those years ago. Just at this moment, 2 rays of light quickly flew in front of Wang Lin. However, when they were still 5,000 kilometers away, they suddenly stopped. It was clear they sensed something strange and quickly changed directions to escape. Wang Lin raised his head and laughed. As he laughed, he looked back at the countless treasured swords chasing after him. He especially looked at the strange curved sword that was flashing from time to time. With a sway of his body, he immediately teleported and appeared 10,000 miles away. However, the moment he reappeared, the treasured swords that were chasing him also flashed. They pierced through space and chased after him once more. The sound of the swords breaking echoed across the earth. There was a hint of the aura of the cultivation planet crystal shattering and the collapse of the world. The 2 rays of light quickly chased after him. Wang Lin immediately recognized the 2 people inside the rays of light. These 2 people were familiar, a man and a woman. Wang Lin immediately recognized the man as Zhou Wutai. As for the woman, she was wearing a purple veil. Wang Lin's eyes lit up as he recognized her. Although Wang Lin was being chased by countless treasured swords, he still had a calm expression and laughed. "Brother Zhou, don't go. Wait for me for a bit." Zhou Wutai's expression was ugly as he muttered, "Unlucky." He pretended not to hear Wang Lin's call and moved even faster. As for the woman wearing the purple veil, when she saw Wang Lin, there was a hint of fear in her eyes. She clenched her teeth and immediately ran away. Just like this, Zhou Wutai and Wang Lin were in front, Wang Lin was in the middle, and behind them were countless sword energies. The half-moon blade would occasionally appear and send out blade energy. This blade energy was what Wang Lin was really worried about. Every time the blade energy appeared, he had to quickly dodge. This half-moon blade was very strange. As Wang Lin escaped, he checked it with his divine sense and found that every time the half-moon blade moved faster than a certain speed, a mysterious force would appear around it, causing it to slow down. Otherwise, it would have quickly caught up to Wang Lin. The 3 of them used their fastest speed. After the time it takes for 3 incense sticks to burn, the edge of the basin appeared. Wang Lin's eyes lit up, and he immediately teleported away. When he reappeared, he was already at the edge of the basin. He didn't stop and immediately flew off into the distance. Zhou Wutai hesitated for a bit before chasing after Wang Lin. As for the woman wearing the purple veil, her eyes lit up. She changed directions and separated from Zhou Wutai. The treasured swords immediately stopped after chasing after them. Only the half-moon blade didn't stop at all. It flashed and charged out of the basin. After the scimitar left the basin, its speed suddenly increased. The strange force surrounding it seemed to have weakened, causing its speed to reach an unimaginable level. In the blink of an eye, the half-moon blade swept past Zhou Wutai and chased after Wang Lin. Zhou Wutai's forehead was covered in sweat. When the half-moon blade passed by him, he didn't notice it at all. He only felt a strong wind sweep past him. When he looked back, all he saw was a black disappearing into the horizon. What kind of spirit item is that? It's so fast. It's at least 10 times faster than before. Zhou Wutai was shocked. After pondering for a bit, he continued to chase. As Wang Lin ran, he had no choice but to slow down. After passing through the basin, there were more dimensional rifts. He stopped at the top of the mountain. Looking over, he could see a mountain in the distance that emitted a 7-colored light. This mountain looked exactly like the spirit mountain that Situ Nan had mentioned. The moment Wang Lin stopped, the sound of thunder echoed behind him. Wang Lin was already prepared. His body flashed, and he teleported 10,000 feet away. There was a loud explosion as the mountain he was on collapsed. Rocks flew everywhere, and a dark blue light flashed as the half-moon blade flew out. At the same time, a divine sense came from the half-moon blade. "Leave it here." Wang Lin's body flashed again. This time, he felt a pain in his left arm. When he reappeared 10 feet away, his left sleeve had disappeared and a wound had appeared on his arm. So fast. After Wang Lin reappeared, he didn't stop and teleported again. He didn't dare to teleport too far away. If he appeared near a dimensional rift, it would be dangerous. As a result, there was a flash of blue light. Every time Wang Lin disappeared, the place he was at would collapse. The half-moon blade seemed to go crazy and relentlessly chased after him. Wang Lin's body flashed, and he appeared 50 miles away. After he appeared, he immediately moved to the side. A dimensional rift slowly opened up next to him. Wang Lin hadn't moved more than 10 feet when he saw a flash of blue light. A gust of wind blew from the place he had teleported to. Everything in its path, including the mountains and the earth, collapsed. Even the dimensional rifts that appeared in the path of the blue light all collapsed. Seeing this scene, Wang Lin's scalp went numb. Without another word, he teleported away again. This time, he felt a pain in his right leg and fresh blood flowed out. After appearing 5 miles away, Wang Lin's right hand immediately wiped his right leg. The wound closed and the blood stopped. What kind of treasure is this? There was a hint of greed in Wang Lin's eyes. He had only seen this thing speed on one item before, and that was the billion soul flag's 4th soul. Comparing the speed of these two treasures, he found that the half-moon blade's attack power was almost the same. After all, if he was stabbed by a needle, he might not die, but if he was swept by the half-moon blade, it was very likely that his head would fall to the ground. This thing is made up of a single life soul. Who is the owner of this life soul to be able to produce such an unbelievably powerful metal-type spirit item? This thing is a treasure. Wang Lin's body flashed again, and the place where he disappeared collapsed again. The half-moon blade's speed became faster and faster. Wang Lin's reaction gradually couldn't keep up. If he was the slightest bit careless, he would be injured. At this moment, he finally understood why Rosefinch's son was so afraid of the 4th soul. I must obtain this thing. There was a flash of coldness in Wang Lin's eyes. He immediately took out the celestial sword and flicked it. Su Ligua was knocked out of the celestial sword. Su Ligua, you have to suffer a bit. Treat him like a giant demon clan ancestor. Once I get my life soul back, I'll definitely come and save you. After Wang Lin finished speaking, he waved his right hand, and Su Ligua's body flew into the air. Su Ligua let out a cry and was about to escape when a half-moon blade appeared next to Su Ligua. It wrapped around Su Ligua's body and disappeared without a trace. In the distance, Su Ligua's sad cry could be heard. "Master, don't forget to save me." Wang Lin's eyes lit up as he held the celestial sword. He and Su Liyuan were connected, so he could sense her location. After pondering for a bit, he concluded that the blade soul didn't want to hurt Su Ligua. It had other intentions. Also, Su Ligua was a devil that lived by devouring, so he wouldn't be destroyed so easily. Right now, Wang Lin had things to do, so he couldn't waste time with a half-moon blade. Using Su Ligua as a lead, he would have a lot of time to find a way to subdue it. After putting away the celestial sword, Wang Lin looked at the spirit mountain in the distance and jumped up. However, Just at this moment, his expression changed, and he looked at a mountain not far away. There was a red figure standing there. This figure was filled with emptiness and loneliness. She stood there with a face as red as a butterfly. It was as if she wanted to go with the wind, but had no choice but to return to the mortal world. Red Butterfly. Chapter 456. Wherever Red Butterfly was, Qian Feng's figure would be there. Wang Lin's eyes lit up, and he looked around. Qian Feng was at the mid-stage of soul transformation, so with Wang Lin's divine sense, if Qian Feng wanted to hide, it would be very difficult for him to detect him. Wang Lin's eyes were calm as he clasped his hands at Red Butterfly and said, "Fellow cultivator Red Butterfly, long time no see." On the mountain peak, not far away, the red figure looked profoundly at Wang Lin. Her figure flickered, and she descended from the mountain peak. In the blink of an eye, she appeared 1,000 feet away from Wang Lin. After closing in, the emptiness and confusion in Red Butterfly's eyes were reflected in Wang Lin's eyes. Wang Lin's expression was ugly. Although he already knew what had happened to Red Butterfly and had sensed her existence when he fought Qian Feng at the edge of the Rosefinch continent, today was the first time he had truly encountered her. However, today was the first time he had truly met her since his battle with Red Butterfly. From Red Butterfly's eyes, Wang Lin could only see a deathly stillness. At this moment, Red Butterfly was as beautiful as ever, but Wang Lin could no longer see the proud and arrogant girl from back then. Back then, Red Butterfly was the genius of Shui Yu and a genius that reached the soul formation stage in 100 years. In her eyes, Wang Lin was like an ant. The conflict between the two of them slowly grew until it reached the day of their final battle. Although this was the case, in Wang Lin's heart, he still respected Red Butterfly. This kind of respect was a kind of affirmation of one's opponent. At this moment, his opponent from back then had fallen to such a state. Wang Lin couldn't help but let out a sigh. Things remained the same, but people change. Compared to now, Wang Lin wanted to see the proud Red Butterfly from back then even more. Only by fighting her like that would he be able to reach the peak of his life. Wang Lin let out a sigh and put away the emotions in his heart. His eyes were like lightning as he looked at Red Butterfly and calmly said, "Qian Feng, come out." Red Butterfly stood there and looked up at the sky. Her eyes were empty. "Xingniu, I don't have time to waste with you today. Since you found this place, let's meet again on the Spirit Mountain." Qian Feng's voice came from the void. Wang Lin suddenly turned his head and looked at a mountain range in the distance. He saw a black figure moving like a gust of wind. His target was the Spirit Mountain at the center of the area. A cold light flickered in Wang Lin's eyes. He snorted coldly and was about to rush to the spiritual mountain. "Red Butterfly, didn't you want to fight Xingniu again? Today, I'll give you that chance. Kill him." Qian Feng's arrogant laughter came from afar. His figure disappeared in the blink of an eye. "Xingniu, you old friends have reunited. Why don't you catch up for a day? When I take out my life soul, I'll deal with you." The emptiness in Red Butterfly's eyes disappeared and was replaced with battle intent. Her body moved, and she blocked Wang Lin. Without saying a word, she slapped her bag of holding, and a red sword appeared in her hand. At the same time, a monstrous aura erupted from Red Butterfly's body. This aura wasn't any weaker than Wang Lin's, and there was celestial spiritual energy around her body. It was clear that even if her cultivation hadn't reached the soul transformation stage yet, it wasn't far from it. "Xingniu." A cold voice came from Red Butterfly's mouth as she stared at Wang Lin. Wang Lin slightly frowned as he looked at her. He wasn't in a rush to find Qian Feng. He guessed that there wouldn't be a spirit mountain here. After all, if this was really the cultivation planet Crystal, there wouldn't be a spirit mountain here. But now, he had actually seen the spirit mountain. Since Qian Feng wanted to explore it, then he would go. Red Butterfly's eyes lit up, and she waved the red sword in her hand. The sword flew out of her hand and created a powerful gust of wind. It turned into a bolt of red lightning and shot toward Wang Lin's brow. Wang Lin's body backed up. He touched his bag of holding, and a restriction scroll appeared in his hand. With a shake, countless restrictions flew out and formed a barrier before him. The red lightning immediately collided with the layers of restrictions, causing a world-shaking rumble to echo out and spread in all directions. A sandstorm appeared on the ground and filled the sky. Within this sandstorm, there was a flash of red light, and Red Butterfly's figure charged out. A piece of red ice had appeared in her hand. This ice gave off a cold aura that filled the area. As Red Butterfly closed in, battle intent suddenly appeared in her eyes. A deep sense of sorrow came from her eyes, and as she charged out, her lips trembled. "Kill me." A weak voice came from Red Butterfly's mouth. A weak voice came out from Red Butterfly's mouth. However, the sorrow in her heart immediately disappeared and was replaced by a deep desire to fight. Her aura was like a rainbow as she charged toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin's heart trembled when he heard Red Butterfly's voice. His gaze toward Red Butterfly became complicated. Red Butterfly hadn't completely lost her mind. There was still a sliver of her that was hidden very deeply. Red Butterfly was proud. Her pride came from her bones, from her soul. Her entire life, she was a proud rose. She would rather die than endure such a miserable existence, because she had hidden a sliver of her sanity deeply within her heart. Wang Lin took a deep breath. Facing Red Butterfly, who was charging at him like a ray of light, he reached out with his right hand. Suddenly, strands of restriction gas came out of the restriction flag and gathered in his hand. A huge black spear that was about 30 feet long exuded streams of black chi as it took shape in his hand. With one hand holding the spear, Wang Lin's eyes were like lightning as he looked at Red Butterfly. His body turned into a blur as he stabbed out with the spear. As the spear descended, it whistled through the air like the wails of ghosts and the howls of wolves. It came from the tip of the spear, and the sound traveled several kilometers. The piece of ice in Red Butterfly's hand suddenly pressed between her eyebrows. Immediately, a red light flashed between her eyebrows. Layers of thin red ice immediately spread from between her eyebrows at a speed visible to the naked eye. In an instant, it covered her entire body and formed a red armor. This armor was completely red and gave off a cold aura. Under the light, Red Butterfly's beauty became even more apparent. At this moment, she was like a celestial battle celestial. As the red armor shined, a black whip suddenly appeared in her hand. Soul Lasher. This whip was given to her by Qin Feng to help her fight against Wang Lin. Red Butterfly's eyes revealed a mysterious light as she swung the whip in her right hand. Popping sounds could be heard as the whip shot out like a dragon toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and the spear moved with him. The moment the spear stabbed forward, he retreated, his hand formed a seal, and he muttered something. Shortly after, a strange wind filled with celestial spiritual energy appeared and closed in on the spear. The Soul Lasher and the spear clashed against each other. Boom! It was as if the heavens and earth were collapsing. As the whip and spear collided, a powerful shockwave spread out in all directions. Wang Lin's body was like a pine tree, and he didn't move at all. The sandstorm that was rushing toward him was picked up by the strange wind and sent back toward Red Butterfly. All of this happened as fast as lightning. After the Soul Lasher collided with the spear, it immediately flew out of Red Butterfly's hand like a bolt of black lightning. It pierced through the strange wind and flew toward Wang Lin. With a snap, Wang Lin's figure quickly retreated more than 100 feet. His eyes revealed a mysterious light as he softly said, "Soul Lasher." He had obtained this whip once before, but in the end, he had no choice but to hand it over. Now that he saw this whip again, he was determined to obtain it. As for Red Butterfly, her body involuntarily retreated due to the strange wind. The red armor on her body immediately released waves of cold aura. This cold aura spread out like crazy. There was a series of cracking sounds coming from the void, and strange ice sculptures that looked like thorns immediately formed in the air. This cold aura actually froze the wind and the shockwave, turning them from invisible to tangible. As Wang Lin stared at the armor, his eyes flashed with a cold light. Red Butterfly raised her right hand and pointed at the ice sculptures in front of her. Suddenly, cracks appeared on the surface of the ice sculptures and spread like crazy. In the blink of an eye, there was not a single smooth surface on the ice sculptures. With a bang, the ice sculptures shattered and fell to the ground. "Kill me." Red Butterfly's eyes revealed a struggling expression, and her face revealed a deep sense of pain. At this moment, the Soul Lasher was moving around her body like a dragon. The red armor on her body released waves of cold light. Wang Lin looked at Red Butterfly and silently nodded. He touched his bag of holding, and a giant battle axe appeared in his hand. The moment the battle axe appeared, the sky darkened and all the light gathered on the battle axe. Strands of purple lightning moved along the battle axe and moved along Wang Lin's arm to his entire body. Bursts of crackling sounds came from Wang Lin's body. At this moment, a never-before-seen battle intent gathered in Wang Lin's heart. This battle axe was summoned by the giant demon clan ancestor before he died. It was the weapon of the giant demon clan ancestor under Serene of Zhao. After Wang Lin obtained it, he originally wanted to give it to his original body to use. However, now that the celestial sword had lost its sword spirit, and he didn't want to use the 1 billion soul flag, this battle axe was the most suitable weapon. Red Butterfly looked at Wang Lin and opened her mouth. A ray of red light flew out from her mouth and turned into a crystal red rose that floated before her. This red rose instantly bloomed. As it bloomed, a strand of red smoke came out from the stamen. Inside the smoke was Red Butterfly's figure. This figure contained a strong sense of pride. It was exactly the same as the Red Butterfly in Wang Lin's mind. "Sung Yo, make your move." Red Butterfly's eyes were filled with pride as she looked at Wang Lin. Chapter 457. At this moment, Zhou Wutai was flying 5,000 kilometers away from where Wang Lin and Red Butterfly were. His cultivation wasn't at the soul transformation stage, so he wasn't as fast as Wang Lin, so he was chasing. Just now, when the curved blade flashed past, he was shocked. That kind of speed was something he had never seen before in his life. As he flew, Zhou Wutai suddenly frowned. He immediately stopped and looked behind him. In the sky behind him, there was a red light. It was dense and tumbling, and the entire world was dyed red. Even the rifts in the sky were being hit by the red cloud and quickly dissipated. Zhou Wutai let out a sigh. He immediately became respectful and stood there motionlessly. The red cloud was like a ferocious beast as it flew by. When it was above Zhou Wutai, an old voice came from within. "Come in." Zhou Wutai quickly nodded and turned into a rainbow that flew into the red cloud. Inside the red cloud was an old man wearing a red robe. He had his hands behind his back, and his eyes were like lightning as he looked into the distance. His body didn't move, but the red cloud under his feet quickly flew forward. Zhou Wutai stood next to the old man with a respectful expression. "Zhou Wutai greets Senior." The old man nodded, and his gaze swept across the distance. His gaze seemed to be able to see through distance and landed 5,000 kilometers away, where Wang Lin and Red Butterfly were fighting. He pondered a bit and calmly said, "ZX." Zhou Wutai said, "ZXIN, and I met Wang Lin on the way." And then ZXIN left by herself. The old man let out a sigh and said, "Forget it. Don't worry about her. Follow me to the Spirit Mountain." After the old man finished speaking, the red cloud under his feet moved even faster toward the Spirit Mountain. This old man was Yunk Zi. The Forsaken Immortal clan used the tattoo on the illusion ancestor's skull and their 12-leaf cultivation to temporarily break the restriction on Rosefinch's tomb and send Yunk Zi inside. However, if the illusion ancestor was still alive, he would be able to completely break the restriction on the cultivation planet crystal. However, the Forsaken Immortal clan used the tattoo on the skull to break the restriction, so they couldn't do it perfectly. Although they sent Yunk Zi here, there was a time limit. After a certain amount of time, the tattoo would dissipate and Yunk Zi would be killed by the mysterious power of the cultivation planet crystal. Therefore, the moment he entered this place, he didn't waste any time and moved as fast as he could toward the Spirit Mountain at the center. At this moment, Qian Feng was rushing toward the spirit mountain, and Young Zi was also flying. Aside from the two of them, there were a few other people who were rushing toward the center of the Suzuka tomb. Among these people were people from the Forsaken Immortal clan and cultivators. At this moment, an old man had already arrived at the top of the spirit mountain. His appearance was ordinary, but his eyes were filled with a blood-red light. There was a little monkey sitting on his shoulder, and the monkey's eyes were even more red than before. This old man was standing at the top of the spirit mountain. There was a giant door floating in the air, and the edges of the door gave off a blinding golden light. This door was more than 1,000 feet tall and pierced into the sky. There was a crack on it that looked like a scar. It was very eye-catching. The old man looked at the door, and his eyes became even more red. He revealed a grim smile as he sat down in the lotus position and began to cultivate. The little monkey on his shoulder looked around with a fierce look in its eyes. As for where Wang Lin and Red Butterfly were, the crystal rose before Red Butterfly gave off a beautiful aura. The image of Red Butterfly on the rose was a sliver of Red Butterfly's hidden divine sense. This was the real her. She looked at Wang Lin with pride in her eyes and softly said, "Tsing Niu, make your move. Kill me. There is no point in keeping a life that has lost its mind. I, Red Butterfly, would rather die than live." As Wang Lin looked at Red Butterfly, the scenes he had with her flashed through his mind. A proud daughter of the heavens fell to such a state. How sad! Wang Lin let out a sigh. What he saw from Red Butterfly wasn't pride, but a deeply hidden sadness, a sadness in her heart. This sadness contained a powerful sense of pain that would cause anyone's heart to tremble. "Red Butterfly, I'll help you." Wang Lin's eyes became serious, and he swung the battle axe in his hand. Suddenly, he jumped into the air and let out a low growl. The battle axe in his hand flew out like a meteor surrounded by lightning toward Red Butterfly. This axe carried with it a powerful aura. As it flew across the sky, the air shook as if it was going to collapse. It slashed toward the ground. Before it even got close, cracks appeared on the ground and sand was blown everywhere. Red Butterfly raised her head and looked at the huge axe. The sliver of divine sense on the rose turned into green smoke and entered the space between her eyebrows. At this moment, Red Butterfly's eyes were no longer filled with battle intent or emptiness. Instead, there was a trace of clarity, a trace of pride, a trace of sadness, and a trace of hatred. A smile slowly appeared on Red Butterfly's face. This kind of smile was extremely happy and was rarely seen on her face. At this moment, she was like an innocent girl who had let go of all the obsessions in her heart. A torrential battle intent gushed out from the axe that was descending from the sky. At this moment, it was as though an invisible giant had descended from the sky with a gigantic axe and was chopping down crazily. Although the smile on Red Butterfly's face was beautiful, there was still a deep sense of pride within that smile. This pride was Red Butterfly's everything. Red Butterfly's entire life was spent in pride. At this moment, she was going to die with pride. Her pride soared to the clouds, and she was as captivating as a butterfly. As the battle axe chopped down from the sky, a gust of wind appeared around the axe. It moved along both sides of the axe and created a series of loud, rumbling sounds that echoed between the heavens and the earth. It was said that Red Butterfly's life was less than 200 years. Her short life was just like the butterfly. Although it only lasted for a moment, its beauty and her pride were things that everyone who came into contact with her would never forget. Although her pride caused many people to dislike her, and her heartlessness caused many people to be unable to truly get close to her, she was Red Butterfly, the prideful Red Butterfly. The battle axe was less than 30 meters away from Red Butterfly, and an aura that could destroy the heavens and exterminate the earth emanated from the axe. At this moment, if Red Butterfly wanted to resist, she had the qualifications to do so. If she wanted to dodge, she had the strength to do so. However, she chose not to resist, nor did she dodge. Her eyes grew brighter and brighter. and the pride within them grew stronger and stronger. However, within this pride, there was a trace of regret. Although it was hidden very well, Wang Lin still saw it. In Red Butterfly's eyes, it was as if she could see her master. Her master's voice and smile, the kindness she received when she was young, the kind and strict words she used when she was young. All of these scenes appeared in her eyes. Other than her master, there was also a figure that appeared in her eyes. It was a thin and weak young man. This young man's gaze was always gentle as he silently looked at her. Seeing this figure, Red Butterfly revealed a trace of a smile. The scene in her eyes continued to flash, and finally, it stopped at a young man. The love in this person's eyes was extremely strong. For Red Butterfly, he did not hesitate to steal the soul lasher. Goodbye. Red Butterfly's smile slowly froze. The battle axe arrived. The rose in front of Red Butterfly immediately emitted a dazzling red light. The petals fell off one by one and danced in all directions. Finally, they fell into the void. A trace of blood flowed down from the corner of Red Butterfly's mouth. Her eyes dimmed. However, the thick sense of pride between her eyebrows did not disappear. When the flowers bloom next year, Suzaku will be covered with roses. In the extreme North Plains, there will be a blue rose that will bloom. Wang Lin, that is my gift to you. The rose that lost its petals and only had its stamen left. When the battle axe arrived, it collapsed and turned into ashes. A trace of red appeared between her eyebrows and blood flowed out. It was a ghastly sight. Red Butterfly, you will face a calamity in this life. This calamity is the line between life and death. If you survive it, your life will be peaceful. If you fail to survive it, then you can only die with a grievance. Master used her life's effort to calculate this divination for you. You must be careful. Red Butterfly, I'm afraid this calamity will fall on Sungyo. Sungyo cannot be left alive. Blood flowed into Red Butterfly's eyes, and her vision turned red. Master, you divined Red Butterfly's calamity, but unfortunately, you only divined the person who will face the calamity. You couldn't divine Qianfeng, who will give Red Butterfly this calamity. The battle axe whistled through the air and directly pierced through Red Butterfly's body. With a bang, it sank to the ground. A deep pit was left on the ground. A wisp of black smoke came out from the pit and spread out. Cracks began to appear on Red Butterfly's armor. Cracks began to spread across her armor and eventually spread to every corner of her armor. She closed her eyes, and with a bang, her body turned into a mist of blood. A gentle breeze blew by, and the blood mist slowly dissipated. The blood mist turned into specks of bloodlight that filled the world. The genius of a generation, Red Butterfly, had died. Wang Lin, help me. Kill Qianfeng. Okay. Red Butterfly's voice rang out. Wang Lin silently pondered as he looked up at the sky. For a moment, he felt like he could vaguely hear the message Red Butterfly sent to him before she left. Red Butterfly was like a butterfly. Although it was only for a short moment, it filled his heart and made it unforgettable. After Red Butterfly died, she only left behind a piece of jade and the soul lasher. These two items floated in the air and gave off a sense of loneliness. Qianfeng's domain is endless desire. He wants to devour everything and obtain everything. In truth, how could a domain be devoured? Qianfeng doesn't need a domain, but the sliver of comprehension he gets from comprehending his domain and connecting with the heavens. Through devouring a domain, he can obtain different comprehension and make his own domain perfect until it reaches completion. Wang Lin held the jade. This was the result of Red Butterfly's observation of Qianfeng over the years. Due to A.O. Shu's post, there was a lot of controversy in the comments section of these two books. In truth, this kind of thing has been going on since the Renegade, Celestial Immortal started writing books. There's no need to take it seriously. It's the new year, so let's calm down. Of course, if I had to judge, I would naturally stand on the Renegade, Celestial Immortal side. AI, I hope my words won't cause any more controversy. Let me peacefully enjoy the new year. As for the readers who aren't Renegade, Celestial Immortal. Chapter 458. Wang Lin silently watched Red Butterfly disappear and let out a sigh. His body moved, and he landed on the ground. He waved his hand, and the axe flew back into his bag of holding. Then, with a thought, he reached out and the soul lasher flew into his hand. After taking a closer look at it, he put it inside his bag of holding. There was an ascendant cultivator's divine sense on the soul lasher that Wang Lin couldn't break for now. However, as long as he had this item, he was confident that once he took care of everything, he could use the 1 billion soul flag to form an ascendant cultivator soul. Then he could break the divine sense on the treasure and truly obtain the soul lasher. After doing all of this, Wang Lin looked at where Red Butterfly disappeared and shook his head. He stomped his foot, turned into smoke, and flew toward the spirit mountain in the distance. At this moment, above the spiritual mountain, Yunk Z's red cloud flew directly to the top of the spiritual mountain. Here, the red cloud turned into a red hurricane that descended from the sky. At the top of the mountain, Yunk Z's figure walked out of the hurricane. Behind him, Zhou Wutai respectfully followed. Skylark immediately saw the old man sitting cross-legged at the top of the mountain with the little monkey squatting on his shoulder. He frowned, and his eyes flashed like lightning. After taking a closer look, Skylark's expression suddenly changed. Young Z stared at the old man and said, "I don't know which fellow cultivator has come to possess me. Why don't you reveal your true body?" The old man opened his eyes, casually looked at Young Z, and said, "You and I don't know each other. Even if I reveal my true body, do you think you know how powerful the old man is?" The little monkey on his shoulder bared its teeth at Young Z, and its eyes lit up. Young Z's expression remained the same. His eyes lit up like a torch as he looked at the little monkey. After a while, he faintly smiled and said, "So it's a puppet." The old man's eyes lit up as he stared at Young Z. Just at this moment, the little monkey on his shoulder let out a squeak. The red light in the old man's eyes disappeared, and he said, "I'm Mo Lehigh." After saying this, his eyes flashed with a fierce light. He closed his eyes and began to meditate again. Although this person seems to be at the late stage of soul transformation, there's a strange feeling coming from him. Others can't sense this feeling, and only those who have reached the ascendant stage can sense it. This person is definitely not one of Suzaku's people. Skylark glanced at the old man and withdrew her gaze. She looked at the huge gate in the air and remained silent. Based on his understanding of Rosefinch's tomb, he was quite surprised along the way. The tomb of Rosefinch's son and Rosefinch's tomb that he mentioned were not like this. The spiritual object formed by the life soul was clearly formed by the strange power of the cultivation planet crystal. From what the previous generation Rosefinch's son had said, Skylark Z clearly remembered that this kind of spiritual object would only appear inside the cultivation planet crystal. However, this place was indeed a spirit mountain. The door on the spirit mountain was the only path to the first-generation Vermilion Bird's tomb. The cultivation planet crystal was stored inside the first-generation Vermilion Bird's tomb. However, this door couldn't be opened without the cultivation planet heart. If one wanted to enter, they would have to wait for it to shatter to a certain degree. While Skylark Z was observing, his expression suddenly changed. He casually looked at the bottom of the spirit mountain and withdrew his gaze. Shortly after, he saw Qianfeng's figure appear from the bottom of the spirit mountain. The moment he appeared, he revealed a cautious expression and carefully looked at Skylark Z. After pondering for a bit, he found an empty space in the corner and sat down in the lotus position. Not long after, more people arrived. 2 of them were 8-leaf shamans from the Forsaken Immortal clan. After they arrived at the top of the spirit mountain, they saw Skylark Z and revealed expressions of joy. They quickly arrived next to Skylark Z and respectfully greeted him. One of the cultivators also arrived. This person was wearing a green robe and had a hideous mask on his face. The mask gave off a green glow that prevented divine sense from entering. After he arrived at the top of the spirit mountain, he looked around and silently sat down. 2 hours later, 3 rays of light pierced through the sky and flew toward the mountain. However, just as the 3 rays of light got close, the entire mountain suddenly trembled. The gigantic gate let out a buzzing sound and trembled violently. Cracks suddenly appeared on the cracks amid the rumbling sounds. At this moment, not only was the spirit mountain shaking, but the entire Rosefinch's tomb was shaking. Just like the first time, large amounts of land collapsed into nothingness and large amounts of dimensional rifts appeared in every corner of the world. The sky was the same. It was collapsing everywhere. Without exception, none of the 3 streaks of light that rushed over entered the spirit mountain. All of them were trapped in the dimensional rifts and died miserable deaths. This time, the shaking lasted longer than the first. After 30 breaths of time, it stopped. However, during these 30 breaths of time, the entire outside of Rosefinch's tomb collapsed and became a land of nothingness filled with countless dimensional rifts. There were still many powerful cultivators trying to enter Rosefinch's tomb, but every time they entered, they would be devoured by the dimensional rifts without exception. Gradually, more and more people entered, but the passage to Rosefinch's tomb seemed to have no restrictions and could still be entered. Soon, cultivators began to notice that something was wrong. In the end, things became very strange, and no one dared to enter the passage anymore. In their eyes, the passage had become a beast that devoured cultivators. Anyone who entered it would lose their chance of survival. On the spirit mountain inside Rosefinch's tomb, after the cultivation planet Crystal collapsed a second time, more cracks appeared on the giant door. Some of the cracks even connected with each other. After the shock passed, Skylark Z's eyes lit up and he stared at the huge door. He waved his right hand, and celestial spiritual energy spread out from his hand. The celestial spiritual energy turned into a giant handprint that rushed out and landed on the door. With this seal, the gate trembled, but the cracks on it didn't increase. Instead, the handprint disappeared into the gate. Young Z frowned. He had his hands behind his back as he gloomily waited for the next collapse. However, his gaze would occasionally sweep down the mountain as if he was waiting for something. At this moment, a purple figure walked up from the bottom of the spirit mountain. It was a woman with a purple veil covering her face. She wasn't alone. There were 4 old men with flashing runes on their foreheads around her. These 4 old men were all at the late stage of soul formation, and there were many scars on their bodies. This woman was ZXIN. The reason she and Zhou Wutai were able to come here with only soul formation cultivation was because they each had several talisman puppets. These talisman puppets were given to them by Yunk Z and could protect them. After seeing ZXN, Yunk Z faintly nodded and signaled her to come over. ZXIN took a deep breath and casually looked at Qian Feng in the corner. There was a hint of hatred in her eyes as she walked toward Yunk Z. The moment ZXIN appeared, Qian Feng's gaze never left her. His expression was extremely ugly and filled with killing intent. When he looked at ZXN, there was a hint of pain and struggle in his eyes for a moment before disappearing. Slut ZXIN. Qian Feng stared at ZXIN and said word for word. ZXIN looked at Qian Feng and didn't say a word, but the hatred in her eyes was monstrous. Qian Feng's breathing was a bit heavy. He looked at Yunk Z and took a deep breath to suppress his thoughts. He gloomily looked at ZXIN and closed his eyes with a sneer. Just at this moment, another figure jumped out from the bottom of the spirit mountain and landed at the top of the mountain. The moment this person appeared, most of the people at the top of the mountain looked over. Qian Feng suddenly opened his eyes, and there was a flash of coldness in them. ZXIN immediately lowered her head and retreated a few steps to stand behind Yunk Z. Yunk Z's eyes lit up, and he revealed a thought-provoking smile. Zhou Wutai let out a sigh in his heart. When he was chasing after Wang Lin, he wanted to tell him some things. He didn't expect to meet Yunk Z, who had appeared out of nowhere, and be brought here by him. The person who arrived at the top of the mountain was Wang Lin. When the old man with the little monkey saw Wang Lin, a red light flashed in his eyes, and he revealed a strange expression. He looked at Wang Lin and let out a grim smile. The little monkey on his shoulder looked at Wang Lin with an undisguised, ferocious gaze. The person wearing the mask also looked at Wang Lin with a hint of confusion in his eyes, but they immediately became clear again. He nodded at Wang Lin, but didn't say anything. Wang Lin was in a sorry state at this moment. His clothes were torn in many places. When he was halfway up the mountain, he was caught in the second collapse of Rosefinch's tomb. He was almost killed by the dimensional crack, so he had to dig a cave and hide inside. He only dared to come out after the collapse and survived. If he was in the air at that time, he would have died. Brother Wang, Sang Niu, Wang Lin. 3 different calls came from the people at the top of the mountain. The person who called him Brother Wang was naturally Zhou Wutai. The person who called him Sang Niu was Qian Feng. As for the last ancient voice, it was Yang Zi. Wang Lin's expression was the same as usual. His gaze swept past everyone before landing on Yang Zi. This was the first time he had seen Yang Zi since they last met. His sloppy appearance from before had long been swept away. At this moment, Yang Zi vaguely looked like Rosefinch's son. Wang Lin looked at Yang Zi, and Yang Zi looked back at Wang Lin. The two of them were silent. After a while, Wang Lin bitterly smiled and clasped his hands. Junior greets senior. Yang Zi sighed, shook his head, and said, "You also came here." Wang Lin slapped his bag of holding, and rays of black light flew out. Wang Lin waved his hand, and the rays of black light flew toward Yang Zi. They stopped beside Yang Zi and turned into carvings. That you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.